complete college basketball's greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship.
If you're going to war and I'm coaching, I'm taking these guys.
Baylor, kings of college basketball, #1 in the land, and the trophy is coming to Waco.
Baylor, one of the great turnarounds in college athletics history, national champions in year 18 for Scott Drew.
Our fans that have been with us for the lean years, the good years, and our administration, President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, they all deserve this. The city of Waco deserves this. Hey, Texas, we got a national championship too. The state deserves it.
Did I stutter?
He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
The 2011 winner of the Heisman Trophy is Robert Griffin III, RG3!
Welcome to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Langoliers, base hit to center, and the Baylor Bears win their first Big 12 tournament championship.
Their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear, which is how great you are.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Yep, just ready for OU.
You can't handle the truth.
Here's Drake Toll.
And welcome into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den remote. Happy Monday, everybody. Drake Toll joining you from the metropolis that is Bologna, Arkansas, to start your morning. J.D. PicKell alongside me. We got Jack McKenzie and Andrew Robertson back in Waco. J.D. PicKell, man, I can't touch me. I can't. Typically, you're right there.
I know. Usually I would give you a pat on the back, but you look good remote, man. I like the setup. You got a good-looking mic, and you're coming through pretty crystal clear here.
Wow, remote looks good on me.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's an accurate assessment. Remote looks good on you.
Live in studio looks good on you, and it's been a crazy morning trying to get everything put together today to get the show live, but up and running. Armstrong Sim's still not with us, but he'll be back soon, and we're covering a big weekend, recapping a big weekend in Baylor sports, starting in baseball. You know, you get the baseball team, they dropped the first game of the series against Oklahoma State on the road. Tough place to play in Stillwater. They drop it in 11 innings, 8-7. They were tied 7-7 there for a couple of innings going late. Jacob Ashkenos just couldn't finish it off on the mound, and Oklahoma State wins on a sac fly. Game 2, Baylor coming back. You got a pitcher's duel going on the mound. Pitcher's duel typically favors the home team. 3-1. 3-1 final score. Baylor falls to Oklahoma State. Game 3. Did you see what happened in Game 3?
Game 3, they got it done, baby. 9-3. Good old Baylor Bears got it done after a 5-hour rain delay.
5-hour,
no rest, no rush, just rest for the Bears. Bouncing back, man. That's a big get for them. Big win to finish off that series in emphatic fashion.
Yeah, you got 6 o'clock start on Friday, 6 o'clock start on Saturday. You go to Sunday, you expect the 1 o'clock because you got the travel and everything. But it was such a crucial series that instead of being like, hey, we can try to play this some other time, we can just skip over it, whatever, they had to play it. Like, it was a huge game, and Baylor needed the win. They got it in Stillwater. 5-hour rain delay, started at 6, 9-3, crushed Oklahoma State. A Baylor baseball team still clicking. I mean, you go on the road and you lose a series, but you're playing a formerly top 25 Oklahoma State team. I mean, yeah, it's not what you want. You want to win the series, but I'll take it.
Yeah, and I mean, to finish off after a 5-hour rain delay says a lot about the resilience of this team, the fact they're able to get it done and finish off that series with the win. I mean, obviously, like you said, want to win the series, but to get a win against a team like that and to get the momentum going forward, that's a big deal, obviously. So, again, wish you would win the series, but you're happy with the end result.
Outside of that, Baylor track competed this weekend. The track and field team in Manhattan, Kansas for the Big 12 championship. Three Baylor Bears came home Big 12 champions on the final day. That was yesterday. Aaliyah Miller won her 7th conference championship in the 800. You also had Deshaun Jones, who joined the show last week, was projected 5th in the Big 12 meet, ended up winning it in 110 meter hurdles in the outdoor. And then how about that? You also had Howard Fields III capturing a Big 12 championship as well. So a couple of Baylor Bears making some noise on the track as well in Manhattan.
I mean, really, what are we not good at? I know offensive line's probably the answer right now, but what are we not good at in Baylor sports? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It is the offensive line. Thank you. I'm glad that you brought that up because it's still the offensive line that Baylor's not good at.
It was the offensive line.
It is still the offensive line.
Verdict's out. The verdict's still out. We're going to see.
Apparently, Baylor's not bringing anybody else in either. So maybe it is still the offensive line, but I guess we'll see. I guess you're right. Jury's out. Along with that, you got softball. So baseball, track, men's tennis at noon today in Orlando. Michael Woodson and the boys, they're number 1 in the country in the rankings, right? But Ole Miss is number 14. However, when you get into postseason, Baylor got the 2 seed, Ole Miss got the 15 seed. So those two teams are squaring off right now in the Sweet 16. That takes place at noon. Be a big one in Orlando.
Yeah, Andrew Robertson and I were talking before this. The tennis schedule as a whole is an enigma. Like this whole thing is so ambiguous. There was a national championship however many months ago. We're still playing tennis. Andrew, do you have anything on that?
It makes not a lot of sense to me. They got in Florida, it looked like on Friday, and I was checking their Twitter every so often because that's the main way I find out about men's tennis at Baylor. And I'm checking their Twitter, and it's just days over days of them just being in Florida. I would assume they'd play, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday. But no, let's wait until Monday to get it started. Didn't make a lot of sense for me. I found myself kind of dumbfounded with the schedule for sure.
Worst places to be if you're killing time. Florida's probably not a bad spot.
Orlando, Florida,
the Sunshine State.
It's probably
happiest
nice
place happiest place in the world.
Yeah. Well, they're there in the Sweet 16, survive and advance, 1-game elimination for those guys. So hopefully Michael Woodson and the boys get it done this weekend in Orlando. So yeah, they'll play today. If they win, I don't think they play till like Thursday. It's so odd to me. The Sweet 16 today on Monday, right? You would think that a la basketball, maybe you play Sweet 16 Elite 8, right? That's pretty normal, like within a 2-day, 3-day span.
Sure.
Then maybe you go Final Four, National Championship a week later, rest your guys. No. Elite 8 Monday, then go into Sweet 16 Monday, Elite 8 Thursday, Final Four Friday, Championship Saturday. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, they get it all done real quick. Wow.
Yeah. So you get that. You win today, and you get 3 days off, 2 or 3 days off, and then bam, you got to roll through it.
No rest for the weary. No rest for the weary. But Woodson and his boys are cut out for it, especially in Florida. The humidity is going to help with the recovery. I mean, that's going to do it.
They're going to be nice down there.
Yeah.
Isaac Vandermerva told us it's the swamp. They're excited to go to the swamp that is Orlando, Florida this week. Outside of tennis, baseball, track, men's golf is competing today. I believe it's today. They kick off their NCAA regional. Women's golf is still awaiting the national championship match that's coming up as well. It's softball. We got a clip from Baylor softball. You know, they didn't know. I was texting with some Baylor softball folks associated with the program last night, and they had no idea if they were even going to make it into the tournament. They were worried. I mean, they were right there on the bubble. Baylor didn't win a game in the Big 12 tournament. They had just gotten swept by Texas. I think, if I remember correctly, they're on a 6 or 7 game losing streak right now. So they really were worried that wouldn't propel them in the playoffs. And then, Jack, if you have the video, this happened.
Gotta love that, right? Gotta love that.
I mean, this is the first time since 2018 they've made it. For a lot of those players, they haven't seen the postseason yet just because of cancellation from COVID. And you also had the year where Baylor really just riddled by injury, didn't make the postseason in 2018, or in 2019. First time since 2018 they've made it in. I mean, it's exciting. You know, Baylor softball is 47-30 all time in the postseason, and Glenn Moore has won all 47 of those matchups or those matches for Baylor. I mean, he's a lifer, and he's built a softball program at Baylor that didn't exist prior to his coming here.
And what are we going to see here on Friday against South Alabama? Do we know anything about them or about Baylor's chances in terms of advancing in postseason play? I mean, I'm not privy to the way that this tournament is set up. Is it going to be like a cupcake first round? Or South Alabama, they're 30-19, so I'm assuming they're a somewhat decent program. Do we have any insight there, or are we kind of fishing in the dark right now?
It's not bad. You know, I was really worried that Baylor would end up being a 3 seed in a really tough regional. So I was really, really worried they would be a 3 seed in like Washington's regional, meaning it would have been Baylor, Michigan, Washington all in the same regional, and that would have been really tough to get through. So I think the softball gods smiled upon Baylor, sending them to Florida. South Alabama's not bad. Baylor lost in midweek to Texas State earlier this year, who Texas State's a really good mid-major. They lost to Houston, so I can't promise you that. I mean, nothing's easy. You're not, nothing's already written, but I think it's a favorable matchup for Baylor round 1 against South Alabama. Past that, you get Florida. Interestingly enough, Glenn Moore, the softball coach at Baylor, recruited a lot of Florida's players. I mean, he's familiar with a lot of their teams. So, and Tim Walton at Florida as well is a pretty well-known softball coach that him and Glenn have competed plenty of times against one another. So I think the jury's still kind of out on how Baylor can fare against Florida, but I like their chances against South Alabama.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll. You were saying something, Andrew?
Yeah, just as for the fans out there that don't know, now I obviously know, but for the people out there that don't know, is it a 1-game series or is it a 3-game series for softball?
It's neither, actually. I fancy you ask. It is a double elimination 4-team playoff.
Okay, so it's like the World Cup group stage.
Yep. So they're in the group stage right now in the regional in Gainesville. So if Baylor knocks off South Alabama, they'll then have to play Florida. If they lose to Florida, they'll then drop to the losers bracket, have a chance to play back up and win. But then you got to beat Florida. You got to beat Florida twice.
Okay. Interesting. I didn't see it. Yeah, I'm glad that you let everybody else know that because, of course, we knew that.
We knew that
as we are diehard sports fans.
Obviously.
Yes.
But, I mean, to be quite honest, I've been looking into a lot of smaller market sports ever since coming here, and I was unaware that there are so many tournaments that go on, just like March Madness. Who would have known? I did, but other people may not have.
Yes, and now they all know as much as us.
Now they all know, correct.
Soccer included, they have a 64-team tournament. I mean, there's some wild stuff that some of these smaller sports go through in their postseasons that get overlooked. Speaking of overlooked, there's one team in college softball that feels as though they were overlooked when the selection show happened last night. We got this clip. Jack's got this clip. I want you to take a look at this, and let's get our reaction on the Washington softball team, hearing that they'd be a 16 seed.
In the Pac-12 conference, and they will get underway on Friday, and they are going to open up against the Vikings of Portland State.
What do we think about that?
They seem
Andrew, what do you think about that?
They seem pretty disrespected.
This
is softball, I assume.
I'm sort of confused as to why this is a storyline.
Yeah,
and maybe that goes back to me again not being completely privy to the nature and the makeup 100% of college softball. But to me, it's like, okay, cool, we're in the tournament. Is there an expectation for how they should react because cameras are there? Like, are they supposed to be more excited? Are they supposed to have more emotion because people want them to? Or like, I don't understand why this is a storyline as much.
I guess what I don't understand is that they're 16. They're playing a team that's not even numbered. Mm-hmm. They're playing Portland State, who's 15-24. They basically have a first-round bye. They're 41-11. So I don't know. Drake, give us some insight on this.
Yeah, talk to us here, Drizzy.
So here's your perspective, some more perspective. For Washington, they're going to have to play Oklahoma in a super regional. I don't think Washington's going to have any issue. Maybe they're a little upset with having Michigan in their pod. Michigan's pretty solid, but that's how it goes. If you look at seeding, the 16 seed should play the number 17 team, right? Because it restarts 1 through 16, and then it restarts. Michigan's probably in that 17 range. Washington felt as though they should have been a higher seed. Obviously, they thought they should have been maybe even top 8 and being able to host a super regional. My assessment on this is you've been awarded a home regional. You're getting to play at home in Seattle, right? Their RPI was 16. Softball leans heavily on RPI. It is not a surprise to me that Washington was pit at 16. What is surprising to me is that your team, mind you, softball does not make revenue. Your team is given a series in the playoffs. You're getting to play at home in the playoffs to rake in more revenue. You're getting a chance to bring your fans out to your ballpark to see your team play at home. And you've been blessed, I would say, gifted a top 16 seed in the country. When there is a scenario where they could have been on the outside looking in. They're upset because if they win their regional, which they should, they have to play Oklahoma round 1. Oklahoma's the Monstars. Or they have to play Oklahoma in the Super Regional and go to Norman. Here's my thought. Whether you like it or not, somebody, you, Washington, will have to beat Oklahoma to go to the championship, to win the World Series, right? Like at some point in time, if you want to compete and win a World Series, you got to beat Oklahoma. So you can't be beggars, can't be choosers for when you want to do that. I would rather do it in a Super Regional than have to play them on the national stage in a one-game series that winner take all in the College World Series. So I just don't understand. There are so many teams that would have loved that spot.
So, Drake, we got a little bit of auto-tune on you there at the end of this conversation, come in and out. Don't get me wrong, you sound good, but the auto-tune is cutting in and out. Just to make sure I have you correct. We are upset with Washington because their response to getting a 16 seed was not as jovial as we would have liked.
I mean, you look across the country. Can you hear me okay better now?
We got you. We got you. Yeah.
You got me now.
Yeah, we got you.
Now?
Yeah, we got you.
Sure.
All right. For me, every other team, you saw Baylor react to being a number 2 in the number 4 seeds bracket. Teams are excited to go to the postseason.
We got you on the Kanye West auto-tune. We got you on the Kanye. On the Kanye.
Wow.
I think I got you, though. You're saying you would like there are a lot of teams that would like that spot. And so for Washington to just walk out felt a little bit like, hey, what's the deal here? You should be more excited. You should be more grateful. Is that kind of the gist of it?
I mean, yeah, everybody else is celebrating. Everybody else is excited with the seed that they've been given, especially the teams get to host, the opportunity to do it at home, to bring in revenue at home. You get to play in front of your own fans. Portland State is over the moon. They don't care. They got to play Washington. They're ready to go beat Washington to upset and make noise and advance in the tournament. Whereas if you're Washington, it's like do you want pity? Do you want pity for being the 16 seed, which is right where your RPI is?
Well, we are making kind of an assumption that Washington is disappointed. All we saw Washington do was not have the response a lot of other teams did. And you know who else? My first thought when I saw this was, you know who else wouldn't be stoked about making the tournament as a 16 seed? Kobe Bryant. Kobe is famous for the quote of, I think they're up 2-0. They go, why aren't you smiling? He goes, job's not finished. Job's not finished. Why would I smile? Job's not finished. For Washington softball, job's not even started. Like, congratulations, you punched your ticket. Like you said, they're about where they should be. They're probably about where I would hope a lot of people would expect them to be. Job's not finished. I mean, you don't need to celebrate because you made the tournament. Like, I'm very much okay with this. And I think we're putting a lot of assumption in the fact that we think they're disappointed. In my mind, this is business as usual. Like, job's not finished. Let's rock and roll.
I'm very confident that if Washington was an 11 seed, they would have reacted much different.
How?
Much different.
How can you be confident in that?
They would have celebrated because that's what teams do. You land your postseason spot and you celebrate. Baylor men's basketball team, you're a number 1 seed in X regional. Yes. You celebrate. There's hand clapping. There's the fist pumping. There's the hugs. Gonzaga basketball. I'm not asking you to shoot off fireworks and kill the fatted calf, but I again, looking like it just seemed very bratty. It was such like a sassy, we're disappointed that we get to host as a national seed.
I didn't get bratty from it. I didn't get so much attitude as much as, okay, we know where we're going. Let's walk out. Let's go. And it was across the entire team. Like, it was, okay, this is going to be our response. It was almost like it was staged. Okay, once we find out our seed, we're all going to get up and we're going to leave. And you saw whether it was the players or the coach didn't move a muscle either. Coach just had his arms crossed, was watching the screen, and he was like, okay, cool. That's what we're going to do. We're going to roll from here. Like, there was no need to feel like they had to have a response. And you had a thought on this, Andrew, as well.
This is another question for those who don't know, but I do know.
Of course, we know.
Right.
We know, yes.
Now, see, when you see a 16 seed in the NCAA March Madness tournament, it's like, whoa, 16, that's horrible. I assume it's a little different in softball. Could you maybe explain that just a little bit, Drake?
So walk me back through that. You say 16 seed is what?
Well, in like March Madness, 16 seed is referred to as like the worst seed that you can be. It's like, the really bad teams. Washington seems like a really good team. So is it 16 out of 64? Is that what we're looking at?
So yes, it would be 16 out of the 64. So similar to baseball is the same way. The top 16 seeds get to host a regional and bring 3 other teams to town for that first weekend of postseason play. So to be a top 16 seed, it's overall. Whereas in basketball, obviously it's 16 in your respective quad. So yes, here being 16 is great. I know Baylor would have loved to have been a 16. Michigan, who would be the 17 in this scenario, would love to be the 16. I mean, I can tell you, Michigan. I really don't think Michigan would have reacted like that. You're looking at a Washington team. Softball hinges on RPI too. I get that in a lot of different areas, different sports, there are metrics. So basketball may go by the MIA poll. It may go by KenPom. But softball goes heavily on RPI. Washington's toughest non-conference game was was just a random one game with BYU, and the rest of it's against like Seattle and Portland and just crap teams. I mean, if you want a higher seed, play better teams.
Why are we assuming they want a higher seed? I mean, everybody wants a higher seed, but why are we assuming they're so frustrated with the seed they got? They didn't make a big fuss. They just like, cool, we know what we're going to do now. Let's go practice.
It almost seems so professional.
It was very businesslike.
Oh, come on. Did you watch the same video?
We watched the same video. We did. There was no audio. There was nothing that was inherently bratty about it. They just got up and walked out. And so to penalize them for that, I think we're really like looking at some fine print here that's just not there. There's a lot of assumptions here.
Plus, knowing what I know now.
They looked pissed.
Based on what? You couldn't even see their faces.
Look at this. So that even the comment on this says this was absolutely justifiable. Glad they walked out. Total disrespect from the committee.
Okay, if they feel...
I'm not understanding. Yeah, go ahead.
If they feel very disrespected, then I can kind of understand their stance. And that's if we're assuming that they feel disrespected. But on this side of the coin, knowing what I know now, that being a 16 seed is basically being a 4 seed in the tournament, I don't think they should really feel that disrespected. Like that's a pretty good seed. They're 41-11. Like how can they really be that mad? And that's why I kind of think maybe they're not that mad. Maybe they're just business as usual. They got up. They're going right out to the field. Do some ground balls. Get ready for this tournament. That's what I'm leaning right now.
It feels more like a stretch that they would be upset because it's a decent seed. Like I get that maybe a lot of other teams responded differently. But I mean, if you want to be great, you got to be a little bit different. I think a lot of the great competitors, a lot of the really well-coached teams, have a lack of emotion, and so I don't think this is bratty. I think this is just okay. We know what we got to do now. Like job's not finished. Job is not even started. Like they didn't win anything. Yeah. If they had won something, I'm like, okay, show some emotion. They didn't win anything. Alabama, when they find out they're in the college football playoff, I guarantee you they don't give a emotion at all.
Yeah, they already know they're in.
Yeah,
They already know they're in, and Washington thought I'm looking across here, and yeah, you can see in the reaction. They wanted to be a higher, so they expected. I can see why they would have expected. They were higher in the rankings. They would have expected the high seed. But you're in a situation where so what? Just because you expect it doesn't mean you're going to get it. And I really think this is disrespectful what they did.
What in their reaction was it that teed you or gave you the impression they were upset?
Do we have the video? Can we play the video again?
I would love to play
break this down again.
Yeah, let's do the play-by-play. Can't see any of their faces. They all just get up like they're going to a workout.
I think
coach is still there. Same response from everyone. All right, let's go ball. You can't see anyone's reaction, so there's no facials there to go off of.
I think what Drake is leaning on, it's the lack of celebration. If every other college celebrates and they don't celebrate, that's probably what Drake's leaning on here. Maybe I don't watch a lot of Washington softball, so I can't tell you how good of a team that they are.
Hey, Rob.
Well, I watch a lot of Baylor softball. I'm working on it, regardless.
Washington's pretty good.
Is Washington?
They're historically good.
So, do you think they got disrespected by the committee?
More context here. Yeah, Washington has been there. Washington is typically a top 16 seed, and they're very typically a top 8 seed. They're a national title contender year in and year out. So I could certainly see them being disrespected by this seed because in the rankings, in the latest rankings, D1 softball, they would have been a top 10, top 12 team in the postseason. It was their RPI that tanked them. They were expecting to be a top 12 team.
Okay, so this was like around. So in their eyes, they were thinking they were going to be like 3 or 4 spots higher.
But yeah, this is Loyola Chicago getting snubbed in last postseason being 8 seed. the reason they reacted like this while still being a 16 is because the 16 will have to play Oklahoma, the 1, in a super regional. And Oklahoma, they're the best team in college softball, one of the best teams to ever play. So nobody wants to play them. And Washington's just been fed the news, hey, Gonzaga basketball, you get Baylor basketball in round 2. And they're pissed because of that.
I just have a hard time thinking that's their thought process. Like, I think there's a lot of other scenarios that feel a lot more likely than them going right to, oh, shoot, we have to play Oklahoma. Like, I don't even know that's entering your mind. You're not thinking Oklahoma after the first round. I don't think you are. If you're a competitor, I don't think you are.
Yeah. Honestly, I think
I mean,
you think so after getting announced into the 16 seed?
Yeah, like right now, when it gets announced, that is when you can look forward. That's when you're like, this is our path. This is what we're going to have to face.
Right off the bat, in the first 30 seconds of finding out?
I'm sorry. Do you not always look at the 1 seed for whatever college you're rooting for?
Not when I find out my seeding in the bracket. I'm thinking, okay, cool, we made the tournament. Awesome, let's ride. We got first round.
Oklahoma, the 1 was already announced. So everybody knew that, okay, whoever the 16 is going to be the ones to play Oklahoma.
So how many rounds?
Already out there.
So how many rounds would it be before they play Oklahoma, in theory?
None. So they would play the regional, and then there's that 14 pod. They're going to win their 14 pod and play Oklahoma in a super regional, which is a 3-game series in Norman.
So who will they play? So they'll play other teams before Oklahoma, I would assume.
Yes, in their regional. Michigan, Portland, and whoever else it was.
So I was like, my first thought is, okay, who else is in our pod? Let's worry about that. And then there's no, I mean, obviously Oklahoma is one of the best teams of all time. Like, they're just out to break records this year. But I mean, it's sports. There's no guarantee they get out for sure.
Absolutely not.
I mean,
why do you play the games?
I'm worried about who's in my pod first. That's what I'm thinking about right off the bat in the first 30 seconds.
Who says Oklahoma's going to get out of their pod? No guarantees.
Oh, yeah, they are. 1,000%.
They probably will, but I'm thinking, like, that's not my first thought within the first 15 seconds of finding out, okay, we're the 16 seed.
Oklahoma's lost, once this year to Georgia?
I don't even know. I know they're
Georgia,
dominant.
once Oklahoma State. Yeah, they're stupid good.
They're dominant.
Stupid good.
But in your first 30 seconds.
T-Rex.
Okay, bring it. We got T-Rex.
T-Rex is hopping on the conversation here. Hey, while we take this, I'm gonna try to figure out if I can get some new Wi-Fi rocking and rolling.
All right, baby, we got you. We'll hold it down.
Love it. We got this.
Sweet. Hey, T-Rex, can you hear us? What's going on, T-Rex?
Yeah, I can hear you, T-Pain. Little reverb going on. Guys, Drake, I'm sorry, you're putting too much into it, man. That Washington team, they're ready to win a natty. They're like, all right, cool, we got our seed, we got ground balls to go pick up or something. I don't play baseball or softball. I don't know what you do in practice. But, it's business as usual for them. I mean, if they feel disrespected, so be it. But, hey, that's how the cookie crumbles, The NCAA has people to pick the selection. You go with it, man. You want to talk about somebody being robbed? 2018 Baylor basketball got put in the NIT after we should have been in an NCAA tournament. Now, granted, we lost in the second round of the NIT at home. That's neither here nor there. Texas got in, lost in the first round. That's a real robbery. All right, so this team got into the top 16 team in the nation. They get to host, like you said. If they're pissed off, so be it. But, hey, man, every girl that I ever met that played softball, they always look pissed off. So, maybe that's just how they look.
Here's my thought process, T-Rex. Once you find out that you're in the tournament, I know, to juxtapose that with every other team, they were excited, they were happy, they're making a party out of it. But do you not almost want to see your team show less emotion when they find out that they're punching their ticket? I'm thinking, great, you just found out your schedule. Nobody celebrates when they find out their schedule for the NFL season. Nobody's excited about that. This all feels very much business as usual. So what do you think people are keying on to find something to be upset about with this Washington softball team? That they walked out quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There is a big difference. You look at Baylor. Baylor didn't know if they were going to get in. So, of course, they're happy. Of course, they're celebrating, especially after the bad stretch that they had at the end of the season there. They didn't win a game in the tournament. They had a bad stretch. It wasn't the best season in the world. They're elated that they got into the tournament. And then some schools, some players, they're just always going to be elated. But this Washington team, you're top 16 in the nation. You have a legitimate shot to, if not just go far, make the actual World Series. Maybe you do knock off Oklahoma. I mean, they are a juggernaut this year, but who knows? For them, They knew they were in. They have nothing to celebrate other than they got the number 1 seed. But what does that even matter? You're going to host. What's the difference between the 1 seed and the 16 seed? Literally nothing other than you might play a worse team. But anybody can win. So you may end up playing a good team your second game, right? So I think that people just want something to be mad about. You know, they look at the golf situation. All the people on Twitter and online that are mad about the golf tournament, 99% of them have never watched a golf match in their life, especially not women's collegiate golf. And if it wasn't for Barstool Sports coming in, and props to them for getting a tournament set up. Hopefully that does happen for those girls that didn't get to play. And they should have played. They should have had their tournament. But what I'm saying is people are always looking for something to be mad about. They can't be mad about COVID anymore because that's almost done. So now they got to be mad about women's softball teams not getting selected high enough. People just got to have something mad about. But see, here as Baylor fans, we're always pissed off because we always do something stupid. So, we don't have to look for anything to be mad about here in Waco.
I love it.
We'll find it. Don't worry.
And it finds us, it feels like, every now and then. And also, T-Rex.
It'll find us, that's for sure.
To top it off, I just want to say this. If there were no cameras in that room, nobody would care. Like, this wouldn't even be a story. And I get that's kind of the point, that this was on camera, that they walked out, didn't have the reaction, but this wouldn't even be a story. Bear Games question of the day for you, T-Rex. Go ahead. You had something I was going to say?
Oh, no, I'm just saying it wouldn't be. You're right. I mean, they put the cameras there. So it's a thing they do for all the sports. I mean, you look at our tennis team. If you go back and watch our tennis team's reactions, there's like a couple of claps. And then they're like, all right, let's go. We got a tournament to host.
Let's go do business.
Like, our tennis team expects to win a national title. You think they cared about who they played?
Yeah, Nick Saban, he doesn't get excited when he makes the college football playoff. Even when he wins the college football playoff, he doesn't get that excited. But
I want to see Nick Saban not make the college playoff. Then we're gonna get. Then we'll have a story. Then we'll have a video.
And we'll talk. Act like he's been there before. You know.
Act like you've been there before.
Yeah, Washington's been there before. They're showing that kind of professionalism.
Hey, man, all about their business. T-Rex, before you get you out of here, Bear Games question of the day. You get past the aux at an event. Event is your choosing. What song are you putting on?
I get to choose the event and the song?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll go both.
Okay. It's going to be Baylor football, home opener against Texas Southern this fall, a couple months from now, and we're going to play Mo Bamba like it's 2018. And we're not going to cry about it. We don't know what the lyrics say. And then all of a sudden, act like we know what the lyrics say all of a sudden because some sorority put a video.
Yeah, all right. I don't know what to add to that. Rock and roll, Mo Bamba.
I mean, the student section would probably love it.
It'll be the edited version.
We used to play it. We used to have Mo Bamba play it. No audio, but the students sure said the words. And then all of a sudden, the following spring, 2019, Baylor acted like they never knew what the lyrics were and got all upset because some sorority posted a video of them singing the words. So
yeah,
it is what it is. Like I said, we always got something to be mad about in Waco.
Yeah.
I'm going to let that one lie. T-Rex, thanks so much for calling in, boss.
Hey, SicEm Bears, Drake, you're wrong.
Wow.
Drizzy, you back, baby?
Yeah, I will say, can you guys hear me okay?
Gotcha.
I got new Wi-Fi.
Oh,
I will say that on the Mo Bamba note, that was a national story. That was a bad deal. There will be no more Mo Bambas in Waco for a long, long time.
No Mo.
But on the softball note, I do. There is the whole business as usual argument and business as usual thing with Baylor softball, though. Baylor's obviously excited because they got to make it into the tournament, and I would hope. As I'm looking at this and I'm seeing all the messages and all the stuff, I really am pretty confident that, Washington softball feels slighted, and I'm not sure how you can feel slighted when you've been gifted a home seat and a chance not only to host but to make revenue off of this host too. So we'll see how the postseason plays out, but it seems like to me they feel disrespected. Maybe it's business as usual, but I'll tell you, say that Nick Saban feels as though his team deserves if his team's given the 1 seed. They'll clap and just, and then shake hands and whatnot. I mean, there's a reaction. If he's given the 4 seed when he feels like he deserves the 1 seed, they're going to be pissed, right?
I guess we'll never know. I don't think so. I think he just says, all right, cool. We'll go play whoever's the 1 seed right now, and we'll probably take them to town. I think Nick Saban doesn't bat an eye. I don't know how you can put a lot of stake into these different messages or comments on boards because the reality is they're from the outside looking in. Like whatever I think, whatever you think, we're on the outside looking in. The way that it looks to me, though, is Washington just was like, all right, let's go ball. And so, but I mean, in terms of message boards and forums and comments, like I don't put any stake into that. Do you?
I'm looking right now, and there are a bunch of articles out today. I mean, video. Washington softball walks out in protest of NCAA tournament seeding. And this, absolutely justifiable. Glad they walked out. Total disrespect. The UCLA head coach said that she was shocked and very disappointed by the seeding of Pac-12 teams. The Pac-12 in general is upset with where they were seeded for the softball tournament, and I think you're getting this is a product of that.
These are all comments from people that aren't in that locker room that don't matter, just like me.
And people were also mad.
Hey, you matter.
I'm mad, but my opinion, reality is I have no idea what's going on in that locker room. But the way it looks is what I'm having an opinion on, just like those headlines and articles.
People got mad at the Pac-12 seeding for March Madness as well, and then Pac-12 went out and balled, and now look at what happened now. So maybe the Pac-12 teams are all in collusion with each other. That are all going to disrespect the entire committee, and then if they win, they expect to get some respect in return.
Yeah,
I like that.
Here's what we got. So I've been remote. I was going to tell you guys a funny story about me being home. So I'm in Vilonia, Arkansas, right? And quite obviously the Wi-Fi is not as good as usual. Is that you could tell that on the front end probably?
Yeah, it's breaking a little bit here. But you're good.
Oh, still?
You're good right now. You're good right now. No, it was.
I tried to fix it. I tell you, when I was 9, we forded the river trying to get from Quapaw country over to the Cherokee Nation and the eastern side of the state. So we crossed the Arkansas River in our big schooner.
Trail as a child.
Yeah.
And we crossed in the schooner, and then we settled right here in this little plot of land, 3 acres. When I was 12, we gave the schooner away for a Model T. And now we're getting a little more modern, and the Wi-Fi is starting to work. But actually, when I got home, so I always tell you funny stories about what my mom, like things that she says to me about the show. This is going
to be Business Services. I'm going to lose my mind.
Or about things that I do with I'm trying to tell a story that I just got home with my mom. So she says things about the show all the time, right? Like she's always making fun of my haircut. She's making fun of like, oh, you don't eat enough, or oh, you eat too much, or like my mom's so picky. So I get home. It's the first time I see my mom. She looks me dead in the eyes, and says, Drake, the first hour of SicEm365's Up-Tempo is brought to you by Banson Business Services, owned by Baylor grad and SicEm365 premium member Jonathan Green. Banson Business Services offers a full suite of business support and financial services. Banson specializes in bookkeeping, payroll, outsourced CFO services, and consulting. They can even help you with your taxes. Their business helps you run your business. Visit SicEm365.com/Banson, BANCIN. For more information. I see Steven from Virginia in there. Steven, we'll get to you on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. This is Up-Tempo.
Survive in advance. The Baylor men's tennis team continues its quest for glory with a Sweet 16 matchup against Ole Miss that is now underway in Orlando. The number 2 seeded Bears are favored against the 15 seeded Rebels in a match that began at 11 a.m. You can find live updates on Twitter at Baylor Men's Tennis. And they're going dancing. Baylor Softball punched its ticket to the postseason as a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional. The Lady Bears face off against South Alabama at 3:30 this Friday and will play either number 4 overall Florida or South Florida depending on the outcomes of the 2 games. Baylor's all-time record in the postseason is 47-30, with all 47 wins coming under Glenn Moore. The Lady Bears are one of 5 Big 12 teams to receive bids to the tournament, with 3 teams hosting regionals. On the other diamond, Baylor baseball bounced back in a big way with a 9-3 stomping of Oklahoma State after a 5-hour rain delay that preceded the ballgame. The Bears lost Friday's game 8-7 in 11 innings and Saturday's contest 3-1 in a tight pitcher's duel. Sunday's win improved the team to 30-16 overall and 10-11 in Big 12 play. The win snapped a 5-game losing streak against Oklahoma State, and the team next plays this weekend in Waco against Oklahoma for the final regular season series. In track, Deshaun Jones won the Big 12 title in the 110-meter hurdle, while Alia Miller and Howard Fields III took conference victories in the 800 meters and 400 meters respectively. Akir Nugent also placed on the podium at the meet in 2 different events. And another title comes to Texas. The Sam Houston State Bearcats won their first national title in FCS football on Sunday in a thrilling 23-21 come-from-behind victory against South Dakota State in Frisco. I'm Jack McKenzie, in for Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Jack's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Alan Samuels is celebrating Jeep Freedom Days. It's an exciting time for the new Jeep Cherokee Latitude or Lux with up to $5,000 in values or 0% for 84 months. Wow, the new Jeep Cherokee Latitude Plus or Lux up to $5,000 in values or 0% for 84 months going on now. Jeep, a great SUV. Alan Samuels, the award-winning customer service Central Texas dealer. The best place to get your next Jeep SUV. Located 201 West Loop 340. Alan Samuels is your friend in the car business.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma. And they have to come here. They're used to lights. They're used to water in their mouth. They're used to experience. They already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio. Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Sit down, Bob. I'm not happy, Bob. Not happy.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll and J.D. PicKell for the Blonde Boys Power Hour.
It's not the same. It's not the same, but it's I love that. That's where your heart is. That's where my heart is too. I love it. I love it.
Well, oddly enough, you do have a table bell. Unlike myself, you do have a table bell beside you.
I'm table bell-less right now. I think I maybe put it, or maybe it's somewhere else living in the studio. But
yeah, it is.
We'll track it down. We'll track it down.
It's on the keg. If there's a massive keg on the other side of the room, it's not mine. It's not my keg.
On the keg. We'll find it. We'll track it down. We'll track it down another time.
I'm just saying, I was just letting everybody know. So, like, if somebody else was to break into the studio and was looking for the table bell, then they wouldn't have a tough time. I was just trying to be courteous.
Yeah.
Sadly, we do not have kegs in the studio. We just have used whiskey barrels.
Kegs?
We don't have kegs. They're whiskey barrels. Like
kegs? Wow. Big Midwestern guy, Jack McKenzie today. Hey, hey, everybody. Hey, Andrew, can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you.
JD?
Dude, loud and clear.
Hey, let's give it up for Jack today for
Jack.
producing the show.
Jack of all trades, baby.
Today. Jack producing the show. Armstrong's out for a couple of days, taking a little vacation, so taking a load off. He's just Jay chilling. So Jack's filling in for us. Thank you to Jack. Jack, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling fine.
Looking good.
I love it.
You're looking good,
I love
too.
it. He is. I saw him earlier, and I got to say.
They're not in the Premier League anymore.
Not yet.
Well,
AFC Bournemouth
may change.
Promotion playoffs today.
It's coming.
Here we go.
We got Steven from Virginia on the caller line here. Steven, go ahead and let me see if I'm still I think I'm still hooked up to the phone line. Steven, go ahead and talk to us. What's going on, Steven?
Hey guys, do you have me?
Loud and clear, baby.
So we're getting to that time of year where it's time to talk a little diamond ball talk, Time to talk about what happens between the white lines and all four of the bases. So, I'm not too knowledgeable on softball, but I will say that the Pac-12 has been angry about getting the short end of the stick the last couple of years in terms of, like the Big 12, they get left out of the playoff pretty frequently, and the March Madness seeding didn't help their cause. They were pretty upset about that, and I understand. But the Pac-12 has also been one of the worst managed conferences in terms of USC football hasn't been relevant for a long time. UCLA basketball has not been as relevant as they needed to be, and when those are the two premier programs in your conference, it's really hard to, and both of them are down, it's really hard to expect your conference to thrive. I mean, what would the Big 12 do if Oklahoma was bad at football and Kansas was bad at basketball?
Not exist.
People would certainly not look at us in any serious way.
I'm gonna push back a little bit there and say USC football was in the conversation for a playoff spot a year ago. Oregon football was in the conversation for a playoff spot. So, they're not necessarily dominant, but irrelevance, I think, a bit harsh.
I would say that that there are three out of the Power 5 conferences that get picked above the rest, and it's the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC. And if you're the Big 12 and the Pac-12, you're kind of scratching your head figuring out what we have to do to be included in these parties. But to the baseball, I wanted to ask y'all a question about the baseball team. They played Oklahoma State so tough over the weekend and certainly played a whole lot better than the baseball team I normally follow, the St. Louis Cardinals. But is this going to bar them from making the equivalent of the baseball tournament now? Did they have to be the fourth best team in the Big 12 to get in?
Drake, you know better than me here, boss.
Yeah, I on baseball. So the Big 12 baseball standings right now, I think Scotty B posted this earlier on Twitter today. Scotty B is a great follow on Twitter, by the way. But he mentioned the fact that Baylor and the standings right now, they currently sit at 4, or they're around that 4 spot. Yet Oklahoma State has been knocking on the door, and they're a solid team that had some postseason worries for a second, but I think they're fine now. Looking at what Baylor can do this weekend, though, Baylor has a legitimate shot, if they are to sweep Oklahoma, to take back that 4 spot and even to possibly jump Texas Tech, because they have the head-to-head, into the 3 spot. If Baylor's a 3 seed in the Big 12 tournament, Baylor is looking at, that would make them 13-11 overall in conference, a really good baseball conference, and Oklahoma's good. I don't know if Baylor's going to sweep, but if they do, I peg Baylor to be a 2 seed in a lower regional. So I peg Baylor to be a 2 seed at Louisiana Tech, maybe a 2 seed at Eastern Carolina, and I like their chances if they were to play in one of those. So, Stephen, to answer your question, Baylor could fall as low as 7 if they are to be swept by Oklahoma. They could be as high as 3. I will say this, though. I feel very comfortable, especially with the win on Sunday. Baylor has not been swept in a Big 12 series outside of top 10 TCU. They beat Texas on Sunday. Baylor baseball right now is in the postseason, I would venture to say comfortably, with a top 5 finish in the Big 12, which is where they will finish, and I expect them to have a pretty good showing in the Big 12 tournament. What say you, though, Stephen, from your assessment?
I've been really impressed with the senior, the center fielder, and McKenzie. Those are the 2 guys. Those are some legitimate ball players. I think Andy Thomas. I think.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah. And he is a legitimate big league player. I will tell you that I've played with guys that I knew were legitimate players, and I've seen guys, and they're just, sometimes you can just tell. And that guy can flat out play. He is a lot of fun to watch. And, I'd venture to say that, y'all were on here talking with Max a couple weeks ago and talking about, like maybe the security of Coach Rod. And, I just got to be honest. Baylor's putting out a lot better draft prospects, even though they were already putting out great draft prospects, and the success is there. I'm really a fan of Coach Rod and the way he does things, and I think this is a very strong baseball team. I mean, I tell you, they played Oklahoma State tough and lost 2 out of 3, and I felt a whole lot better than when I watched the St. Louis Cardinals, who have Nolan Arenado at third base. So, I definitely, in comparison, and they're at the top of the division. So I definitely was watching Baylor and felt pretty good this weekend.
And people forget, Baylor was rolling a year ago before the COVID stopped. Like, they were in really good position. They had reeled off a lot of big series wins. They started the year off really slow against Nebraska, obviously, but picked it up towards the end there. And so this is definitely not something that's necessarily new for Coach Rod and this group of players.
No, and one of the things that I mentioned on the show, I think last week, is just that I've always thought Coach Rod recruits quantity over quality in a lot of these classes that come through. So you have like 12 to 15 guys, but how many are elite? But what I think works so well for him is the fact that, say you get 2 or 3 guys per class that are elite. He recruits so well, and he develops so well. So he brings guys in the program. He recruits out of the JUCO, recruits transfer portal. Rod does a spectacular job at going out and finding guys that he needs to make the baseball program solid. This was a put up or shut up year for the program as a whole, and they have put up, 100% put up. I can't say enough, just the superlatives that surround Coach Rod and what I've learned about him and his teams this year are numerous. So, I mean, I think a lot of the credit on this season goes to Rod for keeping those seniors intact and then bringing in the young guys that are hitting the hell out of the baseball right now. They're going to make Baylor a legitimate postseason. I don't know about contender right now, but they're going to make waves in whatever regional they go. I know, Steven, you watch a lot of baseball, so it feels good to watch Baylor baseball and be confident knowing that they're good.
And the one thing that I would say, and this is something that can apply to all baseball fans right now. And, if there are any St. Louis Cardinals fans in Texas, which I know there are a few, not as many as Rangers and Astros, of course, but the Cardinals got swept by the Padres this weekend, and they're still in first place in their division, and Cardinals Nation is in an uproar because they didn't really look good doing it. I'll be honest. It was not really a good series for the Cardinals. But this Baylor baseball team, a couple years in a row, has lost an early season series and looks bad doing it. Nebraska last year, UT Rio Grande Valley this year, and people in both years were like, I don't know. And I would say we all feel comfortably happy with where we are this year, and very, I'm happy with the progress of the baseball program. Baylor baseball was semi-decent, but while the rest of these other sports weren't as good. I would say our baseball team was always a little bit better than our football or our basketball teams, but it's not on the same level. So I'd certainly say, early in the season, you got to get some jitters out, and they play 162 in the big leagues. You play 60 or so games in college, you're gonna lose a few. I hate to say it.
I'm on board with that. Steven, before we get you out of here, big games question: you get past the Ox, what song you putting on?
Oh. Well, it depends on who I'm around. But if y'all pass me the Ox, we're either going to listen to some Drake or y'all going to listen to this song that I heard the other day that's a bop called Grand Budapest.
Yeah.
I've been popping to that lately. So I would go check that out. I don't know if my friend Drake is as rap inclined, so he might have a harder time finding it. But I'm sure if you show him, JD, that he'll be playing it at all his Bologna parties.
Is Grand Budapest rap?
It does technically count as that. I've seen that. I don't know if it really is, but it counts as that.
Awesome. Then Drake and I are jumping on that train together then, because I have not heard that. But I'm excited to give it a listen.
We'll hop on.
All right. Later, my guys.
Sweet. Thanks, Stephen, for your call. As always good to hear from that guy. How about elsewhere today across college sports? You got Mac McClung. Did you see that? Mac McClung said, "I'm not leaving. I'm not effing leaving." And then he said, I'm leaving.
He said, I actually am gonna leave. He must have gotten a good grade then from the scouts. That was a little bit surprising to see. I think he got a lot of flack, I think, a year ago for being what people call a volume shooter. Like, he was just kind of the whole offense. He would shoot a lot, which is fair. But guys still put up numbers at Texas Tech. I don't know where he'll be in the draft, but I'm a Mac McClung guy. I'm a Mac McClung stan, effectively, even though he went to Texas Tech. What do you think about that, Drake?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Mac McClung in a Baylor jersey. Looking back on it now, would I trade a national championship for a year of Mac McClung? No, of course not. But Mac McClung, I think, did enough good for Texas Tech to be a legend in his own right when he comes back. He played well last season, hit a couple daggers, tough shots. I mean, the guy's got kahunas. But I definitely don't know which NFL scout pulled Mac McClung aside and was like, listen, kid, you're ready for the big leagues. This league's built for you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see Mac McClung.
Especially to his NFL, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is that what I said?
No, I like it, though. I'm rolling. He's a great athlete, though, too. Sorry, I'm just making fun. I'm sorry.
I can't see the NFL. I can't see the NFL going after Mac McClung. I also can't see the NBA going after Mac McClung, oddly enough. So I definitely, on the McClung conversation, I find it very interesting that he's leaving. Maybe it makes me think maybe Mark Adams had done something he didn't like. I think Mark Adams is going to struggle in the Big 12 as a coach at Texas Tech. But I find it interesting, somebody whose name rhymes with Barrett Cutler has not declared yet for the NBA draft.
Very odd.
Yeah, man.
Very
not yet.
odd.
So what's the deadline? The 30th. So that's about
30th.
13 days from today? 2 weeks?
Why would you not just go ahead a month ago and say, hey, I'm declaring for the NBA draft, start doing workouts with scouts, finding out what you need to do better, maybe declare and leave your eligibility open too. Come on, man. I'm telling you, there's something here. Jared Butler might just be in a Baylor jersey again next season.
And equally surprising is Matthew Meyer hasn't withdrawn his name, to the best of my knowledge.
No, that is
both of those are
weird.
Very troubling. And for Jared Butler, going back to that, it kept feeling like, okay, there's different milestones that he has at Baylor. Like, after the parade, he'll declare. Okay, no. Okay, after graduation, he'll declare.
Right.
It is the Monday after graduation. No, a Monday and a week after graduation. And so we still haven't heard from him. So if he doesn't declare this week, I will be very much thinking he's leaning towards coming back to Wake, because I wouldn't understand why he would do that.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense,
I would be so confused. But
in all the mock drafts, he's like 16, first round guy. Like, he's going to go somewhere if he declares. And that's kind of one of my questions, actually, going back to Mac McClung. This little thing I'm reading right here, he cannot retain his college eligibility right now. He's officially
done.
I think he's out. Yeah,
wow.
He is signed with an agent or going to sign with an agent and will be effectively a professional.
What happens if he doesn't get drafted? Like, he can't come back to college after that.
G League.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
tough.
Maximus McClung is donezo. He's got to go pro in some capacity, one way or another. But, man, Jared Butler's a guaranteed first rounder. Guaranteed first rounder. My only thought on that, and we're going to talk about that more the rest of the week. Butler is guaranteed first rounder, but so was Davion Mitchell. I think if he'd have gone out his junior year, he decided to come back a year. Now he's a lottery pick. It's a big risk, could be a big reward. Also, if Mac McClung has any remote NBA prospect and is declaring for the NBA, then if I'm Matthew Meyer, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I'm the next one out. If Mac McClung can do this, Matthew Meyer will be an NBA all-star. If Mac McClung makes an NBA roster and actually plays.
And the fact that you're hearing from Matthew Meyer the buzz of like, hey, if you come back and you play well and you're the guy and you do what we think you can do, you're a lottery pick, juxtaposed with like, hey, you could probably be somewhere early, second round. Like, that money is very, very different. So I get that buzz, but I'm with you. If you see Mac McClung going to the draft and he's getting all these grades about being potentially first round or at least a respectable draft spot, you're like, yeah, cool, I'm out too. Give me my money. I got my ring at Baylor. I'm going to the league. So we'll see, man. This week's gonna be very, very telling.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll have that conversation more in depth as the week goes on Matthew Meyer and Jared Butler both, because they both have a big decision coming up. It's a life decision. I'm assuming no Music Monday today, correct? Am I correct in that assumption?
It's looking that way. Yeah, I think we're musicless Monday, but we still got the bros. It's Manly Monday. It's bro Monday.
You know what we'll do? We'll make a Music Monday for tomorrow. We'll do Music Monday with Dead or Alive. We'll do Music Tuesday.
Love it.
We'll pull out the classic bobs. I'll throw a rap song in there just for you, JD. We'll roll with
Tunes Tuesday.
Tunes Tuesday. Oh my goodness, World Hits Wednesday. I know we did that.
I love
it. The first week, because Armstrong loved it so much. Outside of that, Jared Butler, Mac McClung. You got Baylor men's golf right now, 3 strokes outside of the top 5 as they are competing in the NCAA postseason. That kicked off today. Baylor men's tennis, 1 minute away from the Sweet 16. They're playing right now against Ole Miss. You can check out all the updates on Baylor men's tennis Twitter's page. They're going to update that. Max Calderon is their SID, and he is updating that. He's in Orlando with them. I've been telling you, man, everybody's good right now.
It's tough. It's so tough to be in Waco and have all your teams be so good. It's just someone has to carry that burden, and we're going to have to do it, I guess. And on this show, we're just going to have to, bear that cross, I suppose. What do you guys say? We're just gonna have to do that. Just have to. All
we'll just have to keep talking about Baylor sports for them to all be, and then just all be good. Baylor men's tennis. So we're getting information here that due to Tennessee and Arizona going down to the wire, the Baylor match will be postponed. Baylor and Ole Miss will start 20 minutes. They have 20 minutes to warm up following the conclusion of the match that's before them. So it looks like they'll start here in about maybe a half hour or so. We're looking, if in the event of a win, we're looking at possibly having possibly having the head coach, Michael Woodson, on the show later this week. Before we get out to a break and hit Glenmore at 12:05, quick thoughts on the FCS championship. I'll tell you what, man, Sam Houston State's quarterback, give that man every award and accolade in the world. He is a dog.
Took a couple shots in the chin. Like, he just got thrown around all game. And Sam Houston State had that game won early on and let South Dakota back into it. But credit to them. I'm happy for Brian Bell. I know he's coming on the show later today. Credit to him. And, could not be happier for that program. Very interested to see now the one-time transfer rule. How many of those guys get poached and just go play somewhere else? That's going to be something that we see. Again, I know spring season, so that's hard. It's a quick turnaround, but I think it's going to be a reality we see here in the near future.
And I know you saw the Sam Houston State crying fan. Did you see? You saw the crying fan, right?
Yeah, I think it's Garrett Rose. Is that who it is?
Yeah, what do you say we have him on the show tomorrow?
I love that.
You like that?
I love that.
All right. Hey, we're here to deliver. We're a show for the people, baby. When we come back from this break, Glenn Moore, head softball coach at Baylor University, joins the show, and he's going to talk to us about their seeding. Baylor, the number 2 team in the Gainesville Regional against number 4 Florida, South Alabama, and South Florida. Going to be a good one coming up this weekend in Gainesville, the Sunshine State, Baylor at 3:30 on Friday. Glenn Moore, head softball coach, joins the show on the other side of this break. I'm Drake Toll. JD,
I'm here. I'm the real deal, baby. I'm as real as it gets.
JD PicKell, I can't see them, but I know Andrew Robertson and Jack McKenzie exist. They might be remote. I wouldn't know any otherwise.
They look good.
But hey, got a full studio today, running remote from Valonia, Arkansas. We'll be right back with Coach Glenn Moore, the Baylor softball program. Don't go anywhere. This, whether it be here or in Waco or in Budapest, if you're watching it from there, is Up Tempo.
Survive in advance. The Baylor men's tennis team continues its quest for glory with a Sweet 16 matchup against Ole Miss that is now underway in Orlando. The number 2 seeded Bears are favored against the 15 seeded Rebels in a match that began at 11 a.m. You can find live updates on Twitter at Baylor Men's Tennis. And they're going dancing. Baylor softball punched its ticket to the postseason as a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional. The Lady Bears face off against South Alabama at 3:30 this Friday and will play either number 4 overall Florida or South Florida depending on the outcomes of the 2 games. Baylor's all-time record in the postseason is 47-30, with all 47 wins coming under Glenn Moore. The Lady Bears are one of 5 Big 12 teams to receive bids to the tournament, with 3 teams hosting regionals. On the other diamond, Baylor baseball bounced back in a big way with a 9-3 stomping of Oklahoma State after a 5-hour rain delay that preceded the ballgame. The Bears lost Friday's game 8-7 in 11 innings and Saturday's contest 3-1 in a tight pitcher's duel. Sunday's win improved the team to 30-16 overall and 10-11 in Big 12 play. The win snapped a 5-game losing streak against Oklahoma State, and the team next plays this weekend in Waco against Oklahoma for the final regular season series. In track, Deshaun Jones won the Big 12 title in the 110-meter hurdle, while Alia Miller and Howard Fields III took conference victories in the 800 meters and 400 meters respectively. Akir Nugent also placed on the podium at the meet in 2 different events. And another title comes to Texas. The Sam Houston State Bearcats won their first national title in FCS football on Sunday in a thrilling 23-21 come-from-behind victory against South Dakota State in Frisco. I'm Jack McKenzie, in for Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Jack's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll and J.D. PicKell for the Blonde Boys Power Hour.
Back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I'm Drake Toll alongside Coach Glenn Moore today of the Baylor Softball program. Coach Moore and company finding out yesterday afternoon they'd be the number 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional, competing against Florida, South Alabama, and South Florida. Coach, thanks for joining the show today. Pleasure, as always, to have you.
Thanks for having me, Drake. Good to be here. It's a happy day for Baylor Softball.
Coach, congratulations. I mean, you do it again. I saw a number yesterday, 47-30 is Baylor all-time in postseason play, and you've got all 47 of those wins here at Baylor. I mean, wrapping it all up into a bow, the last 2 decades for you at this program, how can you sum it up?
I've been a blessed man to be here and surrounded myself with people that are smarter than me, and Baylor kind of recruits itself. It certainly doesn't get any easier with the rise of cost of education here, but the good Lord has sent us some pretty good players that have performed well. And, you know, I think our program does a great job of preparing once we turn in our our resume to the committee and they give us our marching orders, I think we do a pretty good job of preparing for the competition typically.
Coach, along with that, I was texting with some people around the program last night. We were talking about really the way that things were going to work out with postseason seeding. There were a lot of teams that were right there on that bubble, and especially in the COVID year. I mean, the volatility of this season, so many programs didn't know. I mean, there were teams in their auditoriums last night with pom-poms ready and signs that didn't hear their name called. For your team, how did you prepare your girls for that moment? And did you know where you would be and that you would get in?
Well, a lot of stuff there, Drake. I have been on the other side of that. And I think there's when you get your program to the point where you're expected to be in the NCAAs every year, there's some value to having a team sit and not have their name called out. So we believe in doing that. It's not to shame them, but it's to prepare. A little bit of hurt can go a long ways. It can, if we had a pill to give our kids before the season starts that would let them feel what they would feel when their name's not called out, then they'd work a little bit harder at practice and they would perform, make sure they did get to bed on time. They ate a little bit better. And they give themselves a little better opportunity to be successful. But we don't have that pill, so that's an opportunity to do that. So I've been on that side as well. Honestly, if you just look from an outsider's point of view, you would think, well, Baylor didn't have a very good shot this year. But from an insider's point of view, I felt fairly confident that we had done enough because we schedule strong enough. And we play those teams non-conference. We don't pad our schedule for stats, and in order to build all Americans, we schedule strong to prepare us for this time of the year, and it's paid off more often than not for us. If you don't overdo it with scheduling and beat your team up too much, we're beat up. But if you don't do it too much, then you will be more prepared for postseason. And the Big 12 will prepare you to a certain degree for sure with the teams that we have in our conference, but you need to play that non-conference schedule. So to answer your question, I told them after that final game in Oklahoma City, which we certainly were disappointed, that they'd done everything to this point that they felt they needed to do, have maybe some regret, but anyway, this is what we're going to turn into the committee, and we're going to meet and hope that the softball gods smile down on us, feel like they did this time.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned that at the top of the show today, that the softball gods ended up being on Baylor's side, thankfully. Looking up and down your schedule, you talked about it. I mean, you scheduled tough competition in the non-conference. You open up conference play, and you got teams like Texas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, who's a tournament team, and obviously Oklahoma, who was unbelievable this season. When I ask you this question, there are a lot of coaches, conferences that would respond very differently, but I want to know from your perspective, seeing Baylor as a 2 seed in that Gainesville regional at number 4 Florida, did the committee get it right and do right by Baylor?
I feel they did. I'm very happy with that 2 seed. Would not have been shocked if we had been a 3 seed. Was a little surprised at where we went. I thought we'd be in Baton Rouge, to be honest with you. I don't know that I've ever had the location right and where we've been sent, maybe once or twice. But they have a lot more information, Drake, than the average fan does. The average fan looks at the popularity poll. I do that with other sports. I have a little bit more inside information here. But with other sports, I look at the popularity poll. And a lot of fans don't even realize that's not even considered in factoring in the selection of the 64. The popularity poll plays no role in that. They would put out the RPI poll every week for people to look at, and judged by that, that would be a little more accurate. We stayed in the 30s. We finished to somewhere around 31, 32, and I've never seen a 30 not get into the NCAA tournament. This is a crazy year, and I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, but especially with the way we finished. But we were beaten quality losses by good teams for the most part. The team that maybe Texas Tech lost really, really hurt us, but then they turned around and beat Texas 5-1. So we had we had an argument that we deserved to be in, and I think it paid off in the long run.
Coach, looking at that, the metrics, the different metrics around college softball, too, one of the things that was brought up a lot yesterday around, especially the Pac-12 conference, is that RPI conversation. When you're in the middle of your season, how much do you pay attention to metrics like that? Are you just there to win as many games as possible on your slate, or are you ever looking at your postseason seeding or what you can do to bolster that resume?
I look at the RPI constantly. I look at, the RPI is very difficult to understand. It's not necessary. It's not just what you do against your schedule. It's what your opponents do, and even what your opponents do. So we will see, for instance, last a week ago, we jumped about 8 spots and unexpectedly jumped to me, but it was because of what our opponents did in their schedules. And so if you have some success against your schedule, then they go to work for you, or either they can hurt you. But, that's just the way it works. It's a formula. And I pay attention to it. I don't talk a lot about it to our team, but if I do hit on a poll, it's going to be the RPI and not the popularity poll.
Coach, looking around the conference, and I know I've mentioned the Pac-12 and seeing that there are a couple of these conferences that are disappointed or upset, and their head coaches have voiced that. But, I looked up and down the Big 12, and this may be as strong as I've seen the conference, especially maybe in the last 5 to 10 years. What is your assessment of where the Big 12 was this year from a competition standpoint?
Well, you nailed it, Drake, and I've made no secret that the top 3 are separate from the rest of the conference. The Texas, Oklahoma State have separated themselves from the rest of us. But we deserved 5 teams, and I thought it would have upset me had we not received 5 teams. And the Big 12 is starting to gain some more respect ever since we've lost some teams to other conferences. We have lost a little bit of respect with our conference and our RPI as a conference, but we still have remained in the top 4 and usually in the top 2 or 3. So for some reason, we haven't been getting the teams in. And I think the quality of teams in the Big 12 has certainly increased this year. Oklahoma State's made a big run the last couple of years with Kenny Gayeski there, turning that program around completely. Of course, Texas has as well. And we're down a little bit right now, was the last couple of years, but we'll come back as well. So Oklahoma's there every year. So I think our conference was finally represented the way that it deserved to be represented this year.
Coach, I remember sitting with you in Gainesville this time, I guess a couple months ago, this time last year, and right there on the cusp of playing Florida in a 3-game series. The team had gotten hot, just swept Houston on the road, a really solid Houston team, and that's when the bottom fell out. The season was ended. Does it feel like it's now come full circle, the fact that you'll be on a plane to Gainesville here in a couple days?
Yes, we've mentioned that there's a lot of parallels, a lot of symbolism in what's taking place here. I was on the texting Coach Walton at Florida last night. We got a kick out of the fact that we're coming back over there now after some joking that we had that took place after we were headed home last year. And he and I go way back to his days at Oklahoma and even when I was at LSU. So friends a long time, and we're excited to be. He's got a great program. He's done an outstanding job. He's used the resources that he has and built a perennial power in Florida. So it's an honor to go down there and play against him in a great program like that. But it is ironic that that's where we ended our season. We're able to get out of there in time and get all the kids back home in time from the COVID shutdown. But yeah, it's ironic that we're going back there for postseason.
Coach, I remember, too, watching that Florida State series that was taking place right before your team was to play Florida in Gainesville. And it seemed like a couple of the pitchers and batters had come up. And, I mean, you made mention of those are girls that you've seen while recruiting. I mean, this is a Florida team that maybe you're not so unfamiliar with. Do you know some of the names or some of what you're already getting out of a Florida regional that is boistered or that really is headlined by that number 4 Florida team?
Yeah, it's a small world in softball recruiting. Everybody heads to Colorado and looks at the same kids, and you recruit out of the same travel ball organizations, as you know, Drake, and they accumulate the best talent in their areas. We have them here in Texas. They're in California. They're in Arkansas and Oklahoma. And you know which ones that are going to do the work of accumulating the state's best talent, and then you're going to find those and watch them. So you get to see a lot of these kids that you don't sign or sometimes aren't even recruiting. So you do know a lot of these kids. They know each other. It's a fraternity, sorority, and they just So we've got a good idea that the pitching in this tournament is going to be phenomenal. South Florida's got one of the best pitchers in the country. South Alabama's got a great pitcher as well. It's going to be a pitcher regional for sure.
Coach, along with that, first round, getting South Alabama, I know it's not even been 24 hours since you found that out, but do you have an early assessment on that team individually?
I do, and I go way back with Coach Clark there, and one of the most respected coaches I know as well. And Coach Clark was at Mobile when I was in the NAI at William Carey College. We meet on the recruiting trail all the time. Great respect for what she's done there, and she's always seems to have a pitcher, Drake, and she's got a good one this time. Rise ball, screwball that's very dominating. They beat Alabama 1-0 shutout, one of the best hitting teams in the country. They chased their rise ball. We're going to have to lay off that for sure. Not an outstanding offensive team, but a good offensive team that can score runs. But pitching's the name of this game. So if you've got pitching in this game, you can beat anybody, and they certainly have it.
Well, Coach, when it comes to pitching, obviously you've got Gia Rodoni on your side, as well as Sydney Holman-Manziel and what they've been able to put up in non-conference and conference this season. Going into the regional, what are you hearing from some of your older, more experienced players who maybe remember the World Series run or remember being in the College Station Regional, being in the NCAA postseason?
Fun to get. I'm glad you asked that question. It's fun to hear from those guys. They reminisce during this time of year of what it was like. We have Coach Diaz on our staff, Megan Weldon, before she's married. Now Coach Diaz, she is second baseman for us in the 2011 World Series. And just the flashbacks of this past weekend being in Oklahoma City and being in the same locker room where, she hid in a garbage can and scared me when I walked into the locker room, jumped out of the garbage can. Just the memories they had, the friendships they make, the competition is unbelievable at this level, and it's hard to get here, Drake. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment that these athletes put into being a college student athlete, and a lot of sacrifices. And I was just as proud for this group as I ever have been. And then you hear from those that have played here. We've been to a lot of regionals and super regionals and 4 World Series, and the memories are, as I get old, they're the things that I cling on to. And I'm just really proud that the good Lord has given us another stage to represent him on, and that's what we plan to do once more.
Coach, going into this postseason, a team riddled by injuries this year. You got the passing of Coach Lum in last fall, and then you go through a year where some of your top 2 or 3 hitters, see their seasons ruined by injury. Talk about maybe more in depth what this team has gone through this specific year to get to the postseason.
One of the most emotional selection shows I've ever been a part of last night because of what we've been through. And I could give you a list of things that would just baffle the average fan of what this team has had to survive. And, on top of that, they're dealing with a coach that's had a heart attack, and I've been through a couple of heart casts, and they're having to deal with that while the rest of the staff's having to pull all the weight. Coach Hoot and Britt and Coach Diaz are having to do all my work, and they're worried about their coach and those distractions. And then we lose our leadoff hitter and Nikki Dawson, and then Anna Watson, and then they start dropping like flies. I think we have 15 available right now for us on our roster. That's incredible to think that we're down to that. And again, those are the internal things that the outside can't see, and I get it. It's their job it's the fans' job to critique the performance and the outcome, and I'm a fan in a lot of sports, so I get all that. But what has made this so rewarding is what these kids have had to endure to continue to put Baylor University on the map, and not on the map, but on the national scene. They're on the map. I mean, heck, right now there's only a couple of sports that are not ranked in the top 25, and we're one of them. So, you know, it was a time when we were one of the few that was ranked every year, and now we're one of the ones that are not. So we've got to pick things up in softball. But what this group has been through, representing this university, I would put them up against most teams that we've had here that have received a ton of success. So when you receive those rewards like this on a team that's been through the fire, it's just it is very emotional for me to see that they've overcome. These are the things that prepare them for life. You know, softball is a microcosm, athletics is a microcosm of life, and these are the things that prepare them for life.
Coach, I mean, the character building that this season has been for your team, for your girls, and everybody involved with the program. Now going into the postseason, getting a shot at number 4 Florida, a shot at South Alabama and South Florida, and then past that, the possibility of a super regional even further. What is the message for this team as you go into Gainesville?
I had quite a few ready for them last night. The most important, we expect to compete, Drake. We're not to the point of where we're just happy to be there. We've long passed that. You know, one of my recruits sat on the seat in my office a few years ago, and she asked me a question that probably earned her scholarship to Baylor. I won't call her name, but she said, "Coach, are you happy with just going to the World Series, or do you want to win it?" And I just love that passion and that desire. She said, because I want to win it, you know, and I want athletes that expect to win. So we're going to go down here and expect to compete at the highest level that we can possibly compete at with the talent we have on the field. And that has to be good enough. And along the way, you've got to enjoy the moment. It can't be an outcome-oriented. I've never been an outcome-oriented coach, and you can't be outcome oriented. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the process. And I believe if you're a process oriented coach, you're going to perform better along the route.
Coach, Bear Games question of the day for you. And I want to say congratulations again on behalf of myself and the rest of us here on making another postseason. I think a lot of people take it for granted now. It's just how automatic that you and your program, your staff have made it to go to the postseason. It's a select few teams that get that honor, and congratulations. But Bear Games question, I want to tailor today's a little bit toward you. We've gauged a lot of the reaction today from, Washington and their reaction to their selection show, and really the Pac-12 as a whole. Kind of what do you make of some of the national media and the way some of these teams really approach their seeding and ranking going into postseason play?
It's good for us. It's getting publicity. You guys are talking about it. Would I've walked out of a room when my name was called? I don't think I would, but I can't say that if I felt my team was wronged, I would fight for them. You've watched me on the field probably get an early exit from a game a few times because I felt they weren't treated fairly, and I watched them work and sweat and bleed every day out there. So it's my job to try to get them an equal playing field. So I'm not going to be too judgmental on that, but at the same time, in defense of the committee, because I've been on those committees, Drake, and I know how difficult it is, and I know that the things you look for and look at is privileged information that only the committee has that the rest of us do not have. So, whether it's top 25 wins, the last 10 games, quality losses versus, 100 or lower losses, things like that the average person doesn't even have that information. I know they work extremely hard to try to get it right, and they don't always get it right. The Washington decision doesn't look right to me either. I personally think they should have been protected from Oklahoma, Alabama, and UCLA, and then after that, maybe a 12, 14, 12, 13, something like that. But at the same time, I don't have all that information. So a little controversy is not bad. They get you guys talk about it. So it's good for our league.
Certainly a big topic of conversation today, not just for us, but across the country. And so, hey, like you said, very little publicity is bad publicity. So at least softball is getting some of it. Coach, I want to thank you again for coming on the show today, and congratulations on another postseason. Excited to watch you in Gainesville this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me once again. Take care.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Coach.
Drake?
Sorry, we're having some minor technical difficulties right now. We'll get Drake's audio back as soon as we can. In the meantime, we're going to hit a break.
Check.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. There you go.
Yeah, I see what's going on now. That was Glenn Moore, the Baylor Softball program. His team going to Gainesville this weekend to compete against Florida and the rest of the likes in that NCAA regional. When we come back, we're talking FCS football. We're joined by the winningest quarterback in Sam Houston State history. Joining us again, that is Brian Bell on his alma mater, winning a national championship yesterday. I'm Drake Toll, Jack McKenzie, Andrew Robertson. Don't go anywhere. This is Up-Tempo.
Live in advance, the Baylor men's tennis team continues its quest for glory with a Sweet 16 matchup against Ole Miss that is now underway in Orlando. The number 2 seeded Bears are favored against the 15 seeded Rebels in a match that began at 11 a.m. You can find live updates on Twitter at Baylor Men's Tennis. And they're going dancing. Baylor Softball punched its ticket to the postseason as a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional. The Lady Bears face off against South Alabama at 3:30 this Friday and will play either number 4 overall Florida or South Florida depending on the outcomes of the 2 games. Baylor's all-time record in the postseason is 47-30, with all 47 wins coming under Glenn Moore. The Lady Bears are one of 5 Big 12 teams to receive bids to the tournament, with 3 teams hosting regionals. On the other diamond, Baylor baseball bounced back in a big way with a 9-3 stomping of Oklahoma State after a 5-hour rain delay that preceded the ballgame. The Bears lost Friday's game 8-7 in 11 innings and Saturday's contest 3-1 in a tight pitcher's duel. Sunday's win improved the team to 30-16 overall and 10-11 in Big 12 play. The win snapped a 5-game losing streak against Oklahoma State, and the team next plays this weekend in Waco against Oklahoma for the final regular season series. In track, Deshaun Jones won the Big 12 title in the 110-meter hurdle, while Alia Miller and Howard Fields III took conference victories in the 800 meters and 400 meters respectively. Akir Nugent also placed on the podium at the meet in 2 different events. And another title comes to Texas. The Sam Houston State Bearcats won their first national title in FCS football on Sunday in a thrilling 23-21 come-from-behind victory against South Dakota State in Frisco. I'm Jack McKenzie, in for Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Jack's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up-Tempo.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Pay over qualified buyer with $4,000 down at 2.9% TTL extra. See deal for details.
Travel is back, and so are the savings of the Memorial Day Savings Event at Richard Carr. Save $5,900 on 2021 Buick Encore. Drive off in the affordable luxury of a Buick Encore for as little as $258 a month. Or vacation in the spacious comfort of a 3-row Buick Enclave and save $8,500. 100% credit approval is always our goal. It's the Memorial Day Savings Event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll.
And welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. Happy Monday, everybody. May 17th, recapping a big weekend in not just Baylor sports, but in college sports in general. This past weekend, how about it? You had Baylor baseball taking a win against Oklahoma State, Baylor softball receiving a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional, Baylor men's tennis in action right now in the Sweet 16, and elsewhere in the state of Texas. How about the Sam Houston State Bearcats taking a national championship in the FCS? Joining the show today to help us break it down, former quarterback, the winningest all-time quarterback in Sam Houston State history. We can't overstate it. That's Brian Bell joining the show. Coach, now the head coach of China Spring, but today you're a proud Bearcat alum.
Absolutely. Eat 'em up, Cats. Twitter was blowing up, and last night and this morning, full of orange and white up and down the Twitter feed. So it's a great day to be a Bearcat, baby.
Coach, I know you mentioned last week on the show or 2 weeks ago how you're still connected to a lot of the football alumni, how you still have group chats with those guys or talk to those guys. I mean, what were some of those messages going back and forth for people that a decade ago helped build this program into a further national powerhouse?
Yeah, no, Bearcat Nation definitely needed a win yesterday and just kind of finished it off right. You know, we've been close 2 times before in 11 and 12, and just for the alumni, former football players, but just our Bearcat Nation fan base in general, they deserve that win. And I was really proud of the guys for going out there and finding a way to get it done. You know, mid-rain delay, COVID year, spring football. I mean, so many things stacked against them. They never even had a locker room. They don't even have a locker room right now. So many things, curveballs coming at them, and they persevered and fought through. And sorry about that. That's our bell. But no, they sorry about that. No, but they did a good job fighting through and finding a way to get it done at the end, baby.
Wow. I love it. Coach, you got to see Sam Houston State on the national scale in the national title as a player twice. We've discussed that. And then from an alumni perspective, obviously it's so different. Take me through, obviously the nerves of game day still were there, I'm sure. What was different about this one, though?
I don't know. There kind of was a different vibe for yesterday's game. Kind of going into games before, years in past, there was just kind of something. There's just a quiet confidence that the Bearcats had this year that Coach Keeler and the staff brought. That those guys, we really had a confidence as alumni that they were going to get the job done. Maybe it was because they came from behind the past 2 or 3 weeks in a row to find a way to win it. And they felt like if they persevered that long, they could finish the national championship off the same way, and they did just that. So there was just something different about this year with their confidence level.
Coach, it's the adage that you reap what you sow. And I mean, we talked about it. It started over a decade ago that Sam Houston is now reaping what was sown even then under a different head coach, but just building that team, the Bearcats, into a national name on the FCS scale. And this is a product of that. Does it feel like this is a product of a seed that you and your team helped sow?
I don't know. Those guys, they did a great job creating their own legacy and doing their own thing and creating their own identity. I would like to say we laid a foundation back then, but we kind of were just playing ball and doing the best that we could, and we didn't get the job done. These guys got the job done. They had to do it their own way, and really proud of Coach Keeler and their guys for just kind of finishing off. That was kind of our motto. We always would have the word finish everywhere, and then the SH would kind of be our logo. And I'll kind of post it all over the locker room back when I was playing, and they definitely finished.
Coach, you talk about people never want to be, you don't want to follow Kim Mulkey. You don't want to follow the legend at your respective university or wherever you're coaching. You took that challenge on following your dad at China Spring, and Casey Keeler took the challenge on following Willie Fritz at Sam Houston, who in 4 short years built up to 2 national championships. I mean, Coach Keeler now extending that success. What does that say about him as a coach and his program?
Unbelievable job. I think right when Coach Fritz left and Coach Keeler took over, he had a lot of transfers and he had kind of a method to his madness of how he was going to be successful and find a way to win. And he did a phenomenal job, and they just kind of kept feeling like they coming up just a little bit short. And I think he'd be the first one to tell you that right now, especially the team that he put together and their staff and the athletic department put together for this season was something special. And I think he found his recipe for success, no matter what that is. I think they just had a lot of good dudes. Sorry again.
I love it.
I'm sorry. They just have a lot of good dudes that are high character football players. Not only are they good on the field, but they're good off the field, and just good quality men that are winning football games. So I think they found something special they can hang their hat on.
Coach, I'm reading it here. He had a lot of success at Delaware and won a Division I AA championship at Delaware in 2003. And then Coach Keeler actually was fired and got out of the game, was producing shows for NFL Films in 2013, out of coaching entirely before he took a chance on Sam Houston State. And really, Sam Houston State took a chance on him after he had, been relieved of his duties for lack of performance at Delaware, his own alma mater. I mean, kind of a comeback story for him. What does that say about his character and just his drive as a coach in general?
Yeah, I think, something that's funny, he's really kind-hearted. He's such a good dude. I've had the pleasure of being in the field house with him a couple times, and one of the times that I was there, he rescued a lost dog, and I'm pretty sure his wife wasn't too happy about that. But he's just a good quality dude, and so for Sam Houston to take a chance on him, I think they did a phenomenal job. He's got he's got high character, and he coaches those guys hard. And I've got 2 former teammates that are coaches right now on staff. One's the tight ends coach Matt Merkins and the O-line coach Chris Rogers. And just so proud of those 2 guys for finishing the right way, kind of yesterday and winning the Natty. But they say nothing but great things about Coach Keeler. And I don't know him super, super well, but I do know that he coaches really hard. He did a great job this year specifically, and people say a lot of great things about him.
Baylor winning a national championship in basketball, obviously it took over social media and Twitter. I mean, everything that was out there was all Baylor and centric around Baylor winning a title. To see Sam Houston State, that FCS smaller school program competing against big time schools in Texas, to see your alma mater on that national scale, what was that like?
Yeah, a lot of pride came with that. The Bearcat Nation and kind of Bearcat fans are coming out of the woodworks today specifically, but if you've been affiliated with Sam Houston State athletic program or anything like that, I'm sure everybody's coming up to you today saying congratulations. Their coaches saying they're fired up, and I think it does a lot for the football program, for recruiting, for kind of putting our logo and our brand on the map. But, I think it does a lot just for the university in general. It's free advertising. I think they call it the Doug Flutie effect whenever he threw the Hail Mary. And so many extra students applied to Boston College that next year. And I think it just does so many good things for the university, not just the athletic program. And it's really nice to see the orange and white being on top this year.
So take me through game day yesterday. I mean, as it's starting to come on, you've got the full setup. I'm sure there was some wings or pizza, something involved. Take me through where you were, your full setup, and how you watched it.
Actually, it was kind of a curveball for me yesterday because in the middle of the rain, sorry about the bell again. there we go. So in the middle of the rain and everything, my fiance, we were moving her out of her apartment and into where we're going to end up living in the future. But so we were kind of mid-move, and I got a chance to watch it on the cell phone for a long time, and I actually missed some of the third quarter because I told her I was going to watch it till halftime before we moved, and then it got to halftime, so I stopped, and then I came back 30 minutes later, and they're halfway through the third quarter. I didn't know they weren't taking a halftime, so I didn't get to see the beginning of the third quarter, but it was a fun. I mean, Eric Schmidt, what a ball player the quarterback is. I think the Ezard or whatever the receiver's name is, man, what a stud. Extremely high playmaking ability, and I can't wait to see those guys do it again in the fall because they ain't got much time to rest.
I'm glad you mentioned Eric Schmidt. I mean, I tweeted it yesterday. He's America's hero today. He woke up America's hero today. He also woke up very sore. I mean, that dude took an absolute beating yesterday. I asked you off the air, but do you compare your game to his a little bit?
Absolutely not. I did a really good job. I think my number one job that when I was playing quarterback was get the ball from the center's hands to number 20, Tim Flanders' hands as much or as efficiently as possible. Eric Schmidt, he spins it. He runs the whole show. They get empty. He throws quick game. He runs the ball when he has to, and he's a hard physical runner and deceptively fast. I think everybody got to see that yesterday on the play before halftime where he broke and he almost went the distance, thinking like 40, 50 yards. And, he's just a playmaker. And I still don't understand how he didn't win the Walter Payton Award. And so I think he'd rather have a national championship ring than a Walter Payton Award anyways. Kind of the kind of character that guy has. But he got snubbed a little bit.
He pulled a Tim Tebow. He said, look, I don't need the individual award. We'll win a natty anyway. And with that last drive of the game, 2 4th downs that he converted. I mean, basically himself, both of them being on the ground. I mean, his ability to run is unbelievable. And then he threads the needle on 3rd and 10 from the goal or at the goal line for the game winning touchdown, 16 seconds to go. I mean, your heart's got to be racing on that last drive, even as a fan and alumni watching it.
Yeah, no, it was emotional. I got excited. I was fist pumping in the living room, and kind of those happy tears start kind of building up in your eyes, just because it was really special for Bearcat Nation, like I said. And I think I saw a post-game interview from Coach Keeler. He said something like, it's very fitting for the whole season to come down to one final play, and for them to execute it and make the actual play, because we talked about it earlier. They've had so much adversity, odds stacked against them left and right, and they just keep coming through and keep providing. So I'm really proud of them. Like I said, it's always a great day to be a Bearcat, but it's especially great today thanks to those guys.
And the way they won it too. Coach, one of the last couple questions I got for you here. You talked about how tough it is to play that spring slate and then turn right back around and do it in the fall. I mean, a lot of schools, Central Arkansas and Stephen F. Austin being a couple to mention, didn't do it. They didn't want to play back-to-back. But Sam Houston's made the decision to play in the spring, come back and do it all over again in the fall. I mean, how tough is that? How long does it take, especially for a guy like Eric Schmidt, who is going to need a week or two? How long does it take to regenerate and get back to full strength after a full season?
Yeah, no, I think that was probably one of the biggest question marks, especially for athletic director Bobby Williams. And, obviously he made the right choice. They're going to go down the record books forever. No one's going to ever be able to take that away from them. But, it is what it is. You got to play back-to-back seasons. You got to play back-to-back seasons. That's what it takes, and it always takes what it takes. So those guys are going to respond, and they're going to be fired up. They're going to hit the ground running. They deserve a break, so I'm sure they're going to get about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks off or whatever they got to do, and then it's time to go to work again and see if they can go back-to-back, because I know that's what they're worried about. They're enjoying it right now, but it's all about what's next. I know Baylor has that mentality too. You gotta figure out what's the next thing you're looking forward to, and it's time to go get it.
Coach, you talked about the pride in the program, the pride in being a Bearcat. Always a great day to be a Bearcat. I want to know, does this translate at all into your team at China Spring? I mean, do you have those guys in front of the screen, or you're playing these replays, showing them some film from the game? You got to be giving them something.
I give them a hard time. We had workouts this morning at 6:40, and so I was chopping it up and kind of laughing. And some of the guys that they watched the game, but it's with those guys, it's all about the China Spring Cougars. I don't try to brainwash them with all my Bearcat knowledge and stuff like that. They don't need to be worried about it. Hopefully they were watching the game just because they love football. But when it's around them, it's all about the Cougars, baby.
You don't have too many diehard Sam Houston State fans on the roster?
We got a couple. There's a coach on our staff that went to Sam Houston State. We were there at the same time, Coach Kyle Elkins. And so, yeah, Bearcat pride is strong on our staff, but everybody was pulling for the Bearcats from Texas yesterday.
I love it. Well, Coach, before we get you out of here, I got one more question that our Bear games of the day. Just tie it all together in a bow for us. I mean, when you think about your run to the championships twice in the early 2010s, and then Sam Houston State now beating North Dakota State to try to get to an eventual national championship matchup, and just all of this put together, your emotions in the last 24 hours, what has this been like?
Like I said, I think it's extremely special, emotional, not for so many people that come to mind. Richard Sincere, Tim Flanders, Torrance Williams, Travis Watson, Cash David, Greg Sprouse, Brian Randolph, Seth Patterson, Kenneth Jenkins. I mean, so many guys, Robert Shaw, Darnell Taylor, Darius Taylor. Eddie DeCambry, Chris Rogers, Chris Crockett, J.D. Stanley, Shane Young. There's so many guys I can name right now that I heard from yesterday, and I saw a post, and they were all pulling for the Bearcats. And I like to think that we laid a good foundation. But what the Bearcats did this year is special, and we're going to celebrate it from years to come. Can't wait to watch those guys again next year, do it in the fall, and eat them up, Cats, baby. Great day to be a Bearcat.
Coach, our Bearcat question of the day, Bearcat games question of the day. That's terrible. I shouldn't. That was awful. But our Bear games question of the day, we're going to keep it where it is. This one comes from J.D. PicKell himself, and that's, if you're given the ox at an event, number one, what event would that be? What event are you most likely to be handed the ox? Number two, on the back end of that, what song is the first song you're playing?
You're talking about ox, like the ox cord?
Yeah, the ox cord, not like a physical, like horns grabbing an ox. Great. I'm glad we clarified here.
Animal. Okay, so you got the ox cord. What was the question again? What song am I playing?
What song are you playing, and what event are you most likely to be handed that ox cord?
No doubt is going to be in our weight room, whether that's during the period or after school workout. And I'm go-to straight running Drake. I'm a big Drake guy. I love Drake. Best rapper of the century. Drake, you just don't even know it yet. He's a stud, and you got the same name, so you can't go wrong with a little bit of Drake.
Wow. Give me a brick wall. Give me a brick wall. The weight room, we're gassing up to Drake. Coach, thanks so much for joining the show today. Congratulations, obviously, on all your success at China Spring and what you've built there, that program, off the heels of your dad and what he did at China Spring as well. And then now on being an alumni of a national championship program. Congrats.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Central Texas sports coverage, you do a phenomenal job, and I'm also a huge Baylor Bear fan, and so everything you're doing for Baylor sports, you're a stud. You and JD both love everything y'all do, man. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Coach. Pleasure to have you on today, and great to hear that from you. Thanks. That was Brian Bell. Brian Bell of now the China Spring Cougars, former Sam Houston State alumni, and winningest quarterback in program history for that program, Brian Bell. And what a great kind words there from him too. Bearcats winningest quarterback, led the team to 30 victories in 38 starts in his 3 seasons at the helm of the China Spring program. He is the career leader in passing yards, passing touchdowns, total offense, 2-time All-Southland Conference selection. Brian Bell is a stud and a legend in his own right at Sam Houston State. On top of that, I'm looking at some of these numbers from yesterday. I don't know if you guys got to see the game, but it's wild to me how some of this kind of came together for Sam Houston State. You got the rain delay. So the game was originally scheduled for 1 o'clock, 1:04 kickoff time. The end of the game ended at 5:15 officially. The duration of the game as a whole, you've got 4 hours and 11 minutes, 68 degrees, and there was rain almost the entire time, which to me benefited Sam Houston State. You still had almost 8,000 people that packed in the Toyota Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Telling you, the FCS game is growing, and having the FCS game in the spring helps it grow even further. A lot of folks watched the game yesterday that otherwise would not have had their eyes on it had it not been for the attention that Sam Houston State and the FCS got with playing spring football, not having to deal with the FBS, and they're having a season in the fall alongside the FCS. Sam Houston came in as a number 4 team in the country moving into the playoff, undefeated, 10-0 seasons what they capped off. South Dakota State was number 2. They came into the game at 8-1, finished the game at 8-2. It was South Dakota State that struck first in it as well. Isaiah Davis with a 1-yard run to give the Jackrabbits a 7-0 lead. Sam Houston State came back on a 14-0 kick in the second quarter to take a 14-0 halftime lead. It was Izard, and it was Izard twice, really, on passes from Eric Schmidt that got Sam Houston State on the board there in the second quarter. Sam Houston gets a field goal in the third. They're looking good at 17-7. They're going to march through and win a national championship. Then South Dakota State goes 14 unanswered. It's 21-17. Sam Houston State driving on the last possession of the game inside a minute to go, out of timeouts, and you've got Eric Schmidt, America's hero today, the starting quarterback at Sam Houston State, takes his team down, converts on an RPO, converts a first down on 4th and short. Then they go a couple more plays. You got 4th down again. 4th and short. Eric Schmidt converts it again with his legs. I mean, he got beat up. I don't know if you watched the game. Eric Schmidt, the quarterback of Sam Houston State, got absolutely tortured by South Dakota State yesterday. His ice bath's going to feel good today. But last second, 3rd down and 10. Your clock's ticking, 16 seconds left to go, and Schmidt finds Ife Ajayi in the end zone for a 10-yard touchdown pass to solidify it. Field goal, or the extra point, I should say, was no good. 23-21. South Dakota State takes the ball back. Pretty good return off the kickoff and just couldn't convert, couldn't find a way to get a field goal even up and attempted. And in the end, Sam Houston State wins it. Final score, 23-21 in a tough, rain-ridden game in Frisco, Texas, that was closed out with the program's first ever FCS championship. The state of Texas, first ever FCS championship as well as Sam Houston State football. If they weren't already, they're on the map now. And again, that was Brian Bell, former starting quarterback for the program, winningest all-time leader in passing yards in games won, passing yards, total yards, touchdowns, you name it. Brian Bell's got it. And Eric Schmidt showed a lot of toughness and a ton of similarities to Brian Bell as well. We come on the other side of this break. We'll be joined by Matthew Postins talking Big 12 basketball. A lot of transfers going on in and around the conference. Big news today, Mac McClung is going to the NBA. What does that mean for Texas Tech? What does that mean for Baylor and the Big 12? How does it change Mark Adams' dynamic with the Red Raiders? And how, with Greg Brown leading the program, how good's Texas going to be next year? These are questions we're asking, and really with Bonner. And outside of Bonner, Akinjo, Matthew Meyer, those decisions, Jared Butler, what's Baylor basketball going to look like next season? Matthew Postins is going to answer all of it. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, Matthew Postins of Heartland College Sports is going to join the show. Following him, Phil Elson, the voice of the Arkansas Lady Razorbacks, talking Tari Cummings. Got a big 1 o'clock hour coming up. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay right there. This is Up Tempo.
Live in advance, the Baylor men's tennis team continues its quest for glory with a Sweet 16 matchup against Ole Miss that is now underway in Orlando. The number 2 seeded Bears are favored against the 15 seeded Rebels in a match that began at 11 a.m. You can find live updates on Twitter at Baylor Men's Tennis. And they're going dancing. Baylor Softball punched its ticket to the postseason as a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional. The Lady Bears face off against South Alabama at 3:30 this Friday and will play either number 4 overall Florida or South Florida depending on the outcomes of the 2 games. Baylor's all-time record in the postseason is 47-30, with all 47 wins coming under Glenn Moore. The Lady Bears are one of 5 Big 12 teams to receive bids to the tournament, with 3 teams hosting regionals. On the other diamond, Baylor baseball bounced back in a big way with a 9-3 stomping of Oklahoma State after a 5-hour rain delay that preceded the ballgame. The Bears lost Friday's game 8-7 in 11 innings and Saturday's contest 3-1 in a tight pitcher's duel. Sunday's win improved the team to 30-16 overall and 10-11 in Big 12 play. The win snapped a 5-game losing streak against Oklahoma State, and the team next plays this weekend in Waco against Oklahoma for the final regular season series. In track, Deshaun Jones won the Big 12 title in the 110-meter hurdle, while Alia Miller and Howard Fields III took conference victories in the 800 meters and 400 meters respectively. Akir Nugent also placed on the podium at the meet in 2 different events. And another title comes to Texas. The Sam Houston State Bearcats won their first national title in FCS football on Sunday in a thrilling 23-21 come-from-behind victory against South Dakota State in Frisco. I'm Jack McKenzie, in for Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Jack's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
I got breaking news here. We got Western Athletic Conference just announced they're adding several schools.
The WAC.
The WAC.
Okay. Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
I think Coach Gundy would be like my guy that I would just a hair. Yeah. I just want to be able to see it flow when I kind of slam his arm down.
Here's Drake Toll.
Let's do it.
Purchase your tracks today.
And let's see. Welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I'm coming to you. Hey, Jack, let me know if you can hear me okay on this one. Looking at my Zoom and my Skype. Both are unmuted. So let me know as long as you can hear me. I'm not getting a lot of audio on my end, but that's all right. Matthew Poston's doing Heartland College Sports. So as long as you guys can hear me, I guess that's all that really matters. Matthew, thanks for coming on with us today. I think I got everything working now. I told you off the air. I mean, I'm coming on from what is the metropolis of Valonia, Arkansas today, which is this is a feat in itself. I think this is the first time that Wi-Fi has ever been introduced to this area.
Gotta get you on some of that Joe Biden broadband.
Yeah, that's hopefully it makes its way down here at some point, and we get something. It's cutting in and out. I'll tell you that it's cutting in and out. But I think we got it settled now. Matthew, thanks for coming on, joining us as always. Always love getting your thoughts on Big 12 athletics, Big 12 basketball. But before that, you're a Stephen F. Austin guy. So I know that there's some bad blood there between SFA and Sam Houston, as a lot of the Southland FCS teams are not always the best of friends. But I guess it still feels pretty good to have a Texas team win the title, right?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was at the game yesterday. I was shooting it for the college football yearbook that I'm the editor of. And, I was at their other 2 games when they lost to North Dakota State about, 9-10 years ago. So it was an interesting atmosphere, a little bit different. It wasn't totally full, but it was probably about 50 to 60% full. And, their fans had a good time. South Dakota State's fans had a good time, ended up with a good game after we got all that rain out of there finally. And, I had seen Sam play a few weeks ago, and they're just a really good football team. And they beat North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and James Madison along the way to win a national championship. So it's no asterisk should be associated with this at all. For us, Stephen F. Austin alums, I'm a little bit older. I'm a little bit more mature. Okay, cool. You won a national championship. That's all right. I got some younger alums that I'm friends with that are just like, no, never, no. Wow. So it's nice to have a team from Texas win that title. It's either we've never had a team from Texas win the FCS title, or it's been a long time, one or the other.
I think I know we mentioned earlier on the show that it was the first Texas team to win FCS. I don't know if we can exactly corroborate that with facts and back it up, but I saw it somewhere on Twitter, so we're going to guess that it's true. Hopefully, we'll cross our fingers. But Matthew, before we jump into college basketball in the Big 12 on the men's side, in the women's game, Nikki Collin being at Baylor, we picked your brain on your thoughts here a couple weeks ago, and I want to know now, a little bit removed from that announcement, do you still have a pretty good assessment of her and what she's going to bring to the program?
Yeah, I think so. I think her experience in the WNBA is going to be very helpful. right now, a job like Baylor's probably still a little bit better than a WNBA job just because of the way the college game's built. But, it's getting to the point where some of these WNBA jobs are catching up to the college jobs. And I think her experience at that level is really going to help in terms of, you see what, Baylor players did turning pro in the women's team, getting to the WNBA. Her experience at that level is going to be a nice enticement when it comes to recruiting, young women to come to Baylor for the basketball program now. That's something that, Kim Mulkey didn't have. Kim Mulkey had a lot of things, but she never coached in the WNBA. And if you're going into a world with immediate transfer and NIL and all these other things that are coming down the pipe, having a head coach on your staff that has WNBA experience that can use that as a way to help motivate her players can't be a bad thing.
Moving into collegiate basketball and starting with Baylor, you got Dale Bonner, who decides to make a decision to come from the Division II level and play for Baylor. And then James Akinjo, and we talked about a couple of those recruits coming in for the Bears. Matthew, there's going to be a dip when you lose Davion Mitchell, when you lose Maceo Teague and maybe Jared Butler. But does it feel like Baylor is going to be pretty close next season to what they were this past year?
It probably won't look that way right off the bat, just because there's so much chemistry built up with, Davion and Maceo and assuming Jared leaves. And you're going to have to tell me what's up with Jared, because I don't know why he hasn't announced at this point. It's really the one big mystery left out there in the Big 12. But when you think about the fact that Kendall Brown and Langston Love and Jeremy Sochin are coming in the class of 2021. And then guys like LJ Cryer didn't play that much, but they got to learn from watching these guys all season. And then those transfers like Akinjo, who was the Pac-12, was all Pac-12 first team. And then the year before that, he was Big East Freshman of the Year. I mean, they've got talent to put together. So I think there may be a bit of a drop-off initially next season, but I think by the time you get into conference play, I think they'll be ready to be among the contenders. I still feel like right now they're the best team in the conference, regardless of who they lose. Assuming they lose who we think they're going to lose, they're still the best team in the conference coming back. It's just, I think in November, December, they're going to play a lot of hard games, a lot of big non-conference games because they're the defending national championship. They might even get that non-conference game in with Gonzaga. They couldn't get in last year. So they're going to take some losses, but don't let that lead you to believe this can't be a team that can be approaching this year's team's quality.
Matthew, along with that, Baylor bringing in those three, the official rankings came out for the top 100, announcing college basketball recruits, and Baylor's got three of those, and they're all pretty well rated, 2 4-stars and a 5-stars, what it looks like on most platforms that you look at. From a recruiting class standpoint, and really what I want to get to before, because obviously it's good, but think back to 15, 20 years ago. Is this anything that Baylor could have ever expected?
No, they've never recruited at this level for men's basketball. It's really amazing to look at a guy like Kendall Brown, who's coming in, and, Scott Drew went in and grabbed this guy at a Sunrise Christian in Wichita, Kansas, right? That's Kansas's backyard. They've got at least one player coming in from that school in this year's class, and they've got a commitment from a kid at that school for next year's class already. So to be able to go in there and grab somebody out of Kansas's backyard, and then to go grab Langston Love from Montverde, Florida, that academy, which is where Cade Cunningham went for his last year in high school before he went to Oklahoma State. So it's not just that they're pulling in the rare high quality player from somewhere in the Waco area. They're able to go national now, and that improves the types of players you can bring in. The trick now is you're on the map. You can bring in these types of players. You got to make sure they fit what you want at Baylor, not just from an athletic standpoint, but also from their mindset in terms of whether they're able to adapt to the program or not. That's one of the reasons why Maceo and Davion and Jared were so successful as transfers. They were able to adapt to the mindset that Scott Drew wanted them to have.
Matthew, in your experience covering college basketball, you mentioned the Jared Butler situation. We're 13 days away from when players have to declare for the NBA draft, and most of the players that we've expected to declare have declared. Most of the players that we thought were on the line have either declared or said, hey, I'm coming back. I mean, most everyone has made a decision. In your experience, when a guy waits this long, A, what does that typically mean? B, does that favor his coming back to Baylor?
it means that there's something they're thinking about that we haven't thought about. Usually with kids, when they're trying to decide if they want to declare early, it's about, maybe there's a financial situation you're dealing with. That's one of the reasons Herschel Walker went hardship so long ago. His family was in a situation where he needed to go pro and he needed to go make some money. Sometimes it's about just, you feel like right now is the right time for you to go because you've got a good place in the draft. Jared Butler has those things well in line. He feels like he's a first round pick. So, coming out this year would seem to favor him. There must be something in the math that we haven't thought of. And that's really, up to Jared Butler at this point. I thought maybe he was waiting until after he graduated, which was last weekend, which I thought, okay, well, that makes sense. Concentrate on getting out of college and all that. And then declare. And, here we are, a week after graduation, and he still hasn't declared yet. It's really interesting. I don't know if it necessarily favors him coming back. I still think at the end of the day, he's going to declare and he's going to go. It's just, there's got to be something in the logic that he's using to make his decision that is outside of the norm, that we usually associate, underclassmen making these decisions by.
Matthew, do you hurt yourself when you declare for the NBA draft so late?
No, I don't think so. Because here's the thing, even if he declares on the 29th, which is the day before the deadline, the combine's not for another month. There are easy ways to explain why you waited that long. I don't think it shows any indecisiveness. I don't think NBA scouts are going to penalize a kid for waiting until the end of the deadline because, let's just say Jared was toying with the idea of coming back and going to graduate school. Let's just say he was toying with that idea. I don't think NBA teams are going to hold that against him a bit.
Matthew, along with it, and I still believe it to be a small possibility. I mean, Jared Butler's a first-round caliber athlete. He can go and make millions pretty quickly in the NBA, and he's got that work ethic and drive. And Freddie Gillespie was a Division III guy who had no offers out of high school, and now he's a starter in the NBA, and Jared Butler's very similar, a guy that it's like, all right, how good could he be in the NBA? He's got the skill set, though, and that drive to make waves professionally. Say, though, that small chance he does come back. How does that change Baylor's dynamic next season and where you put them on the national scene?
I still think I feel like they're a top 10 team right now, and I think Jared Butler coming back makes them a top 5 team. You throw him in the backcourt with Flagler, you bring in Okinjo. I mean, you've got a pretty solid guard combination right there. Matthew Mayer, I assume he comes back. I think he's just testing the waters in all honesty. So he's your starting forward, and then you got your combination of JTT and Flo Thamba, and I think the one interesting thing about that is if Jared Butler decides to come back, those guys who were freshmen and who were waiting for a year to get their opportunity, maybe that starts to play in their mind of maybe I need to transfer because I'm not going to get a lot of playing time next year. I think Scott can find a way to balance that. But it would create an interesting dynamic, but I don't think it would make them any worse. It would certainly make them better.
Matthew, outside of Jared Butler and Baylor, elsewhere in the Big 12, Greg Brown saying he's going off to the NBA. I mean, that loss for Texas, how bad does that hurt Chris Beard? Or could that be a positive thing when you think about Beard trying to create his own identity and brand at UT?
I don't think it hurts UT that much because he did such a good job of bringing in transfers that are kind of ready-made and can hit the floor right away and play. That I think where losing Brown hurts you is from the standpoint of just Brown's pure athletic ability, his rebounding ability, his shot blocking. I mean, he's not a refined offensive player right now, and that's actually one of the reasons why I was hoping he would come back for another year, is because I think he needs to work on his offense for another year. His defense and rebounding and shot blocking, those are all there. His athleticism is off the charts. NBA scouts are going to like that, but they're going to look at him and they're going to say, this guy's probably a 1 to 2 year project because we got to work on his offense. And he may take off with all that time to work on his game in the NBA. He may take the time to take off as a player, but I also think he's one of the most volatile players now coming out of the Big 12. He could be a first round pick. He could be a second round pick. He could go undrafted. It just all depends because when you've got all that athleticism, NBA teams tend to take a chance. But because his offensive game just isn't quite, I think, where it needs to be, there are going to be some teams that might take a pass on him. I see him as a late first, early second round pick, and hopefully he ends up with a team that's a contender that can put him on a two-way contract and send him back and forth between their team and a G League team and give him all that time to work on his game.
Matthew, flipping over to Texas Tech and what Mark Adams has done in his first month as a head coach there, you lose Mac McClung with his announcement that he'll be staying in the NBA draft process to try to go pro. I want to look at two perspectives. The first being Mac McClung or the NBA and where his prospect is professionally, and the second being for Mark Adams and Texas Tech. What does that look like for that program losing an experienced player like McClung?
Well, for McClung, I felt like he was another player who needed to come back another year. Obviously he has a great offensive game. I think he needs to work on his defense a little bit. But this is an incredibly deep draft when it comes to college talent, more so than in recent years, because you had all those players who decided to stay for an extra year because of COVID. They decided not to come out early. They didn't feel like it benefited them. So now you have all this great college talent that might have been spread out over 2 years, compacted into one draft. So now a player like McClung, who might have been a late first round pick coming out this year in a normal year, might get pushed out of the draft entirely because of all that talent that's sitting there from a college perspective. So I think he's a second round guy right now. I do think he can become a quote unquote first round guy as he plays in the NBA. He just needs to land in the right place where he could be like a two-way player like Greg Brown, where he gets a lot of playing time. Because I think once he gets the playing time he needs in the NBA, an NBA team's going to find a place for him on their bench because he's instant offense. Being able to drive to the basket, shoot the three, he can give you 15, 20 minutes a game of instant offense once he shows he can prove it to you either in practice or in the G League. Now, from Tech's perspective, he was a guy they were going to build around. Now you're building around Terrence Shannon Jr., Kevin McCullough, Marco Santos Silva, who is no longer in the transfer portal from what I can tell and appears to be coming back. That was one of the benefits of keeping Mark Adams at Texas Tech, is because you're able to bring him back for another year. But that's a big offensive loss. So now I think when you look at that team now, Terrence Shannon Jr. is your number one offensive player. Not a bad thing, because I think he can be one of the best offensive players in the Big 12. But you've removed a scoring option from that team that sorely needed scoring options. And now with 1,500 players in the transfer portal, and most of them have committed, it's going to be interesting to see who they can bring in to take that scholarship that could help them next year.
Matthew, along with it for Coach Adams at Texas Tech and landing a commitment and a transfer in Calhoun from Florida State, what does that mean for his program? I mean, this Tech program in general, how vast will the drop be next season without Chris Beer or Mac McClung in the red?
I think it could be significant. They're bringing in players that either like this kid from Florida State just hasn't had a lot of opportunity but has a lot of potential, or kids who have really produced at smaller schools and are looking for that opportunity, like a TJ Holyfield did a couple years ago when he transferred from Stephen F. to Texas Tech. It's going to be interesting to see the chemistry that Mark has to put together in the summer and the fall, because you got a kid coming in from Dallas Baptist, and he was a high quality player at Dallas Baptist, but Dallas Baptist is a lot different than Texas Tech. So there's going to be some significant transition. If I were Mark Adams and I were crafting a schedule, I would craft a schedule that leans a little fluffy, to use a word, cupcakey kind of, get some easy wins to build the confidence of this team and find out what you have before you go into conference play, because I think conference play is liable to be rough for them. One thing to think about, though, we talk about Mark Adams being a new head coach at Texas Tech. He's been a head coach plenty of times. He's won 544 games at D2, D3, JUCO. He's won a national championship at the JUCO level. He understands how to be a head coach. He just hasn't done it at a high major level, and that's what's going to be unique about watching how he puts this team together next season.
Matthew, maybe it's my ignorance in this entire basketball offseason of what I paid attention to, but I have heard nothing about TCU. Jamie Dixon and TCU men's basketball, do they still have a program? Do they still exist? Is there anything going on there?
Would that hurt y'all's feelings if there wasn't?
Yeah, I probably not. It would mean we have 2 less wins every year. So maybe that side of it's bad.
Yeah, they've had it rough. I think they've lost 8 players to the transfer portal, most of which are guys that just didn't play a lot last year. I think they had a combined 14 or 15 starts last year. Still waiting to hear if RJ Nembhard and Kevin Samuel are going to come back. They submitted their names. I think they're just getting their report cards for next year. Mike Miles just got selected to the under-19 USA team, so he's going to be going through training camp with them in the summer. They've taken in some good transfers, including Micah Peavy from Texas Tech. So they've gotten some good players from some mid-major programs that have production, have been successful. And now, Jamie Dixon has to show that he can throw it together. He's the guy at the Big 12 tournament who said, we're not building programs anymore. We're taking in transfers and we're trying to put teams together. And now he has to go from being the type of coach that he was at Pitt, where he was building a program year after year. He knows what he has coming in, to being that sort of chemist that Chris Beard has become really good at. And it's going to be interesting to see, because I don't think his seat is hot, but I think his seat is a little warm, even though it's his alma mater. They were hoping for more success than they've gotten in the past 5 years. 1 NCAA tournament berth, couple of trips to the NIT. They seem to fall off the cliff when they get into Big 12 play in late January. That's got to change. And when you're cycling half your roster from year to year, which is what they've done the past couple of years, that makes it very difficult to create that consistency.
Matthew, when it comes to players transferring intra-conference, I mean, we're seeing a ton of this year, especially in even smaller conferences that have taken away their rules, former transfer rules, where you can't go from school to school, being one of those conferences to do so. What do you make of that? I know we mention the transfer portal probably every week, but is this good for college basketball that guys can go within their own conference from team to team really at will?
It's a good question. I'm kind of torn about it, because at the one hand, I don't want to tell a kid where he can or cannot transfer to, but at the same time, that does, throw in the whole quote unquote tampering that you hear from time to time in the NBA, because, these guys, they see each other in conference play a couple times a year. They see each other at media days. Their paths cross from time to time, and nothing stopping a coach from whispering into another player's ear, hey, you might want to come play for me if you don't want to sit on the bench there at X university. So I'm a bit torn about it. At the same time, I throw up my hands at Lincoln Riley throwing up a waiver to let that QB go to West Virginia a couple of years ago, because, the dude's going to play behind, Baker Mayfield and then Kyler Murray and then Jalen Hurts. Why don't you go let him go someplace where he can play, Yeah. So it's a really hard issue to work through, because you don't want that tampering to occur, but you want to make sure players can go where they want to go, if they want to go. I think coaches are going to have to start getting a lot better about making sure they set proper expectations with their recruits when they come in, what to expect. Kansas lost 5 transfers to the portal. They were all young players. They didn't play a lot, and some of them, I'm looking at them on recruiting rankings, and I'm thinking to myself, did you think you were going to play 15 minutes at Kansas your freshman year? You probably weren't. So are you doing yourself a disservice transferring somewhere else when you could be developed by one of the best programs in college basketball?
Matthew, our Bear Games question of the day, a little more convoluted today. This is my typical co-host is the one that comes up with this one. And it is, if you are at an event and you're handed the aux cord, what is the first song that you're playing? And on top of that, what is the event that you're most likely to be given the aux cord at?
Oh, gosh. So what is the aux cord?
You plug the music.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay,
yeah,
I just want to be sure. Gosh, so what event would I most likely be asked to do that at? It would probably end up being like a high school game, because I'd be covering a high school game, and I think this actually happened to me once. I had to run the scoreboard and be the announcer several times, and I really didn't want to do it. I think it was at Corsicana High School when I was covering Corsicana back in the late 90s. Wow. I didn't play the music, thankfully. Somebody else did that, but I probably would play something along the lines of Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve Pipe sticks in my head because there was this kid at Corsicana named Shade Bolware who was the quarterback for their state finalist football team in 97. And he also played baseball in the spring. And that was his walk-up music. This was back when kids were starting to get their own walk-up music at high school games. And for whatever reason, that was the song he chose. And it has always stuck in my mind as a walk-up song for whatever reason. So I would not be the guy you'd want on the aux court if we're being totally honest.
For over 2 decades, and it's still stuck and bringing it to up-tempo today. Matthew Postins, thanks so much for joining us, talking Big 12 basketball and the like. Sports really across the South and across Texas. Always a pleasure to have you on.
All right. Thanks, Drake. Appreciate it. Enjoy Arkansas.
I will enjoy what of it there is. Thanks again to there you go. Let's see here. We come back. We'll be joined by Phil Elson. That was Matthew Postins of Heartland College Sports. We come back. Phil Elson, the voice of the Lady Razorbacks. Arkansas Lady Razorbacks is talking about Tari Cummings, Baylor's newest women's basketball assistant coach, who joins us from the University of Arkansas Fayetteville and was at the University of Arkansas for 7 seasons, I believe it was. We'll pull that up and talk to Phil Elson next. That when we come back. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
Live in advance, the Baylor men's tennis team continues its quest for glory with a Sweet 16 matchup against Ole Miss that is now underway in Orlando. The number 2 seeded Bears are favored against the 15 seeded Rebels in a match that began at 11 a.m. You can find live updates on Twitter at Baylor Men's Tennis. And they're going dancing. Baylor Softball punched its ticket to the postseason as a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional. The Lady Bears face off against South Alabama at 3:30 this Friday and will play either number 4 overall Florida or South Florida depending on the outcomes of the 2 games. Baylor's all-time record in the postseason is 47-30, with all 47 wins coming under Glenn Moore. The Lady Bears are one of 5 Big 12 teams to receive bids to the tournament, with 3 teams hosting regionals. On the other diamond, Baylor baseball bounced back in a big way with a 9-3 stomping of Oklahoma State after a 5-hour rain delay that preceded the ballgame. The Bears lost Friday's game 8-7 in 11 innings and Saturday's contest 3-1 in a tight pitcher's duel. Sunday's win improved the team to 30-16 overall and 10-11 in Big 12 play. The win snapped a 5-game losing streak against Oklahoma State, and the team next plays this weekend in Waco against Oklahoma for the final regular season series. In track, Deshaun Jones won the Big 12 title in the 110-meter hurdle, while Alia Miller and Howard Fields III took conference victories in the 800 meters and 400 meters respectively. Akir Nugent also placed on the podium at the meet in 2 different events. And another title comes to Texas. The Sam Houston State Bearcats won their first national title in FCS football on Sunday in a thrilling 23-21 come-from-behind victory against South Dakota State in Frisco. I'm Jack McKenzie, in for Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Jack's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, we're qualified buyer with 4,000 down at 2.9%. TTNL extra. See deal for details.
Travel is back, and so are the savings at the Memorial Day Savings Event at Richard Carr. Hit the road in a 2016 Buick Encore for only $152 a month, a 2016 GMC Sierra for only $318 a month, a 2018 Mercedes GLA for $334 a month, or a 2015 GMC Terrain for only $135 a month. 100% credit approval is always our goal. It's a Memorial Day Savings Event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll for a Baylor take on your lunch break.
And welcome back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den, remote from Valonia, Arkansas. Big weekend at Baylor Sports, recapping baseball, softball, men's tennis in the Sweet 16 right now. And now we've got Phil Elson on the show, the voice of the Arkansas Lady Razorbacks and the voice of the Arkansas baseball team, which I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about that at some point too. Phil, thanks for joining us today. Pleasure to have you on.
Hi, Drake. Yeah, it's good to talk to you, man. How are you doing?
Oh, look, it's been, you've been in Arkansas long enough to know, and you're a Pittsburgh guy originally. They didn't invent Wi-Fi here until about 2 or 3 years ago. So it's doing remote shows has been a bit of a challenge.
Well, Wi-Fi is a wonderful invention. Internet is a wonderful invention, but it still ends up frustrating you with radio every once in a while, and there's just nothing you can do about that.
It's the new normal, especially with COVID, having to do a lot of remote stuff. But at least we're learning. At least we're making strides there. Phil, we got you on today to talk Tari Cummings, who's at Baylor University now as an assistant women's basketball coach, coming from the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. She was at the University of Arkansas as an assistant for a long while under Coach Collin, Nikki Collins' husband, Tom Collin, and really, for you, your immediate reaction to Coach Cummings being in Waco is this a solid hire that Baylor's put together?
Well, there's no doubt. I got to know Tari a little bit when she coached for Jimmy Dykes. She was that coaching staff that worked for Tom the last year he was at Arkansas. Mostly was held intact by Jimmy Dykes for at least the next year, and Tari was there for a couple of years after. And she's a terrific basketball coach, and she established herself as a head coach at UAFS. This is not a surprise at all to see her, working at one of the top programs in the country, B, working for Nikki Collin, who I think she had a really good relationship with Tom, and therefore Nikki too. And also it's not just because of, their relationship. She's a really good basketball coach. She's a terrific communicator, a very strong recruiter. especially in the, Baylor's a national recruit, but she knows the area of Arkansas, Missouri, Texas, Oklahoma extremely well. So, it's a great hire by Nikki Collin, no doubt.
Phil, when you think Tari Cummings, there are a lot of coaches that'll build their, so you have a great recruiter like Chris Beard may build his staff with some more X's and O's coaches. When it comes to Tari Cummings, is she really recruiting based or more on the X's and O's side of things from what you saw of her in Fayetteville?
I think she's both. You kind of have to be both. And I say that I don't know Nikki Collins' style of head coaching. So a lot of it will be what is expected of her based on how Nikki will run her first college basketball program. So, what I know from Tari is that she's both. She focused at Arkansas on post players, and the years, the first year that I was at Arkansas, she had they had a team that wasn't very deep, but played with a lot of heart. They had undersized forwards in Jasmine Bowen and Melissa Wolf that got better as the season went on. And a lot of it was because of, I think of Tari's coaching in some aspects. And that team actually played at the Waco Regional that year, beat Northwestern in the first round of the NCAA tournament, and then got beaten by a Baylor team that I think went on to win the national title that season. So, and there wasn't much that they would have been able to do against Baylor in that game. But I think Tari really improved Arkansas's post play that year specifically. Now, those players were gone after that season ended, and things didn't get better the next 2 years under Jimmy. I don't think it wasn't anything that Tari did. I don't think it was her fault at all. And I think that's been proven that she went on to establish herself outside of the Razorback program as a head coach, and will get a chance to do the same in the Big 12 at, the dominant program in the Big 12.
Phil, in your experience with Tari, Baylor looks for culture coaches when it comes to either head coaches or assistants, those that fit the mold and have a community basis, that want to be involved, want to be active, want to be developers of not just athletes, but human beings and productive members of society. When it comes to Tari and a culture standpoint in being around her, what is she like?
Oh, she's extremely personable. I think she's exactly what you're talking about. She's a good person. She's a wonderful mother. She's raised a daughter that is I think getting ready, if not hasn't already entered college. In fact, she did. Yeah, she plays college basketball right now. That's right. I think at Oral Roberts. And I think Tari's a wonderful person. She's somebody that's going to be. I'm not going to tell you she's like some community leader or anything like that, but she's a positive member of the community. That's what I remember her being like, and got along with the coaches and all the players. And if you want somebody that's going to add to whatever your culture is going to be in whatever program, I don't think she'd be a great choice. She's a wonderful person.
Her being a head coach too, and what you've seen in the game of women's basketball, what kind of experience does that add for an assistant who can go from the head coaching ranks at any level and then offer their abilities as an assistant in a program?
I guess it's the understanding of being in the head coach's shoes and knowing what it's like to have to make the final decision on every say. Not just in the game itself, but in the process of running a program. All the hundreds to thousands of little decisions that a head coach makes in a program. And I think you see a lot of coaches. We see it at Arkansas here. Eric Musselman has a coaching staff that's made up almost entirely of men that have had head coaching positions. And, it's interesting for Nikki Collin because she's a seasoned basketball coach and coached in college too, just not as a head coach. So, I'm not telling you that she's bringing Tari on to lean on her for decisions or anything like that, but she is coming from a different perspective of someone that has run a college basketball program, and it's been from the JUCO ranks. So it's just an interesting set of experiences for one coach to have, and Tari brings a lot from that. And so it's, I think it's interesting when head coaches want to bring other head coaches as their assistants, because they know that people that understand the difficulties of making those big decisions sometimes are the best advisors.
Phil, along with it, for yourself, being someone that's covered women's basketball, especially in this region for a while now, when you think about Kim Mulkey leaving Baylor to go to an SEC job, to be at LSU, and just your assessment of that in general, after 21 years in Waco, what was your reaction to Mulkey taking a step away from the program to go to LSU?
I mean, it's unprecedented. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. Everybody listening here knows that. It's shocking. Shocking in a way that when you think about it, it ends up making sense because of, I believe her when she said that this would have been the only job that she would have left for, and it was the right moment to do it. And you got to jump on those moments if you feel like that's the time to make a change. And this is the right place to do it and the only place to do it. So it's an opening for her to create a legacy that has never been done before. And you'll have an opportunity in the SEC, with the kind of athletes that you can attract to any of the programs, to get back. No, I'm not telling you you're going to be, perennial Final Four the way that Baylor was, or win 3 national championships. But LSU women's basketball, I guess you've always felt like, could be a little bit better than they have been in the last few years. And they have the star power now to bring in that kind of talent and depth. And it's really what they've lacked more than anything is depth. So, it's going to be interesting to see her going up against, Dawn Staley, and to go up against, Mike Neighbors, who I know quite well, and the rest of the coaches in this league that, it's really, really a great league. So she kind of fits right in, but in a way that just can't imagine anybody that's ever won that many championships just has to, now go establish a new legacy somewhere else, just like that out of the blue. So that's really what's so amazing.
Phil, on the other side of that, we've gotten a lot of different reactions about the Nikki Collin hire at Baylor from outside and inside sources. And she won the press conference. Obviously, she did a really good job of winning the press conference, has already kept the nucleus of players together at Baylor. But for you, again, someone who follows women's basketball, when you heard the name Nikki Collin tied to the Baylor job and officially receiving the Baylor job, what were your thoughts?
It made sense. It made sense in terms of someone that has coached as in the WNBA and has lots of connections in college basketball and has worked in the college game before, to see an opening like that and think, what, I think I'd like to give that a try. And why, if for Baylor to reach out to someone in the pro game, makes perfect sense too. I mean, it seems like from an outsider's perspective, it looks like a good marriage. Nikki's very, very intelligent and very energetic, and brings with her a wealth of experience and good coaches, and is going to get talent there. It's just a matter now. She hasn't had to recruit for a while, so that's going to be the test, I guess, more than anything else.
Well, Phil, I want to thank you for your perspective that you brought on Nikki Collin, Kim Mulkey leaving, and then Tari Cummings coming to Baylor as an assistant coach. And before we get you out of here, in between listening to Baylor baseball games, I on the drive in this weekend, I put on some Arkansas games and got to hear the Tennessee series. And folks locally, now that Baylor's really starting to get hot, have paid attention more so to baseball and really paid attention to Arkansas with the hopes that Baylor's not sent to the Fayetteville region, but seemed like quite the series against Tennessee this past weekend for a baseball team that I don't know if I've seen a team as good as this at Arkansas yet.
Well, I've never seen a team have 12 winning weekends in a row to start the season. They haven't had one losing weekend yet. and it's been against really good teams, really from start to finish. And finish includes playing against Florida this weekend in Fayetteville. It's amazing. Tennessee's a really good team. That's a team that feels complete, that might need a little bit of extra help in the bullpen. Arkansas is a team that just knows how to win games. I don't know any other way to put it. And have a relief pitcher in Kevin Kopps, who leads the nation in ERA at 0.8, that I've never seen something quite like what he's doing this year, and has become the most valuable player for this team as a relief pitcher. And they're a heck of a lot of fun. This series against Tennessee was 3 one-run games in an atmosphere that I don't think the fans at Tennessee had experienced in a long time. And all Arkansas did was just kind of show what they've done all season long, go into tough places that are filling their stadiums and win. You know, they've won 5 road series in the SEC. I mean, that's ridiculous. To win 5 road series in any baseball conference is going to be nuts, but to do that in Baton Rouge and Oxford and Starkville and South Carolina and now at Knoxville, and they've also won 2 out of 3 in Ruston against Louisiana Tech. Arkansas did. Those are 4 cities that very well could be hosting regionals. It's crazy how good this team is at just winning games, and it makes it a lot of fun.
Well, Phil, I love watching winning, and I love it too when, as someone that grew up a Razorback fan, and a lot of listeners know, but maybe Baylor baseball, hopefully they avoid the Fayetteville region and get about as far away as possible from Arkansas coming into the postseason. Phil, before we get you out of here, got our Bear Games question of the day today. This one's a little more convoluted. My co-host came up with it. But our question for all the callers and guests today is that if you're given the aux cord to play a song at an event, what is the first song that you're playing? And second, what is the event at which you're most likely to be handed an aux cord?
Oh, well, that was what I was going to ask. What event are we talking about here? Because that has to decide the sort of music you're going to play. I think that I'd get the aux cord at one of 2 places. Either a baseball park at a minor league baseball game, or at my daughter's bat mitzvah, which is next summer. One of those 2 things. And it's going to be different music for both of them. You can't play the same music at a college baseball game that you're going to play at a bat mitzvah. So if I'm handed the aux cord at a baseball park, is this a certain time of the day? Is this a certain time of the game? There's certain situations you play certain music. Is this walk-up music? Is it the 7th inning stretch? What time of the day is it?
Wow. I'll give you this. It is 7:45. You've been in a rain delay for 15 minutes, and they've just let you know they're not resuming play until 9. You're in the 7th inning.
The Rain Song by Led Zeppelin.
Nice. Not I Love a Rainy Night by Eddie Rabbitt.
That eventually will come on, because if that's the case, then we're going to have a whole string of rain music. But the Rain Song by Led Zeppelin is one of my favorite songs from one of my favorite albums, which, if I remember correctly, would be Houses of the Holy. And yes, so I would go with the Rain Song at that moment.
I love it. And Phil, your bat mitzvah song, because I gotta know your one bat mitzvah song you get. What are you throwing in?
Well, it's my daughter's bat mitzvah, and so I know she loves Dua Lipa, so it's going to be Levitating.
Wow. Hey, I'm here for it. I am here for Levitating by Dua Lipa and DaBaby at the bat mitzvah coming up next year. Phil Elson, thanks so much for joining the show today, giving us perspective again on women's basketball. Tari Cummings being at Baylor, and always a pleasure to talk to you and great to have you today.
Drake, it's my pleasure. Good to see you, man. Take care.
You too, Phil. Again, that is Phil Elson, the voice of the Arkansas Lady Razorbacks, and not only that, the voice of the Arkansas baseball team, who's red hot right now. When we come back, celebrity birthdays, this day in sports history, rounding out the 1 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere. This is Up Tempo.
Turned live in advance, the Baylor men's tennis team continues its quest for glory with a Sweet 16 matchup against Ole Miss that is now underway in Orlando. The number 2 seeded Bears are favored against the 15 seeded Rebels in a match that began at 11 a.m. You can find live updates on Twitter at Baylor Men's Tennis. And they're going dancing. Baylor Softball punched its ticket to the postseason as a 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional. The Lady Bears face off against South Alabama at 3:30 this Friday and will play either number 4 overall Florida or South Florida depending on the outcomes of the 2 games. Baylor's all-time record in the postseason is 47-30, with all 47 wins coming under Glenn Moore. The Lady Bears are one of 5 Big 12 teams to receive bids to the tournament, with 3 teams hosting regionals. On the other diamond, Baylor baseball bounced back in a big way with a 9-3 stomping of Oklahoma State after a 5-hour rain delay that preceded the ballgame. The Bears lost Friday's game 8-7 in 11 innings and Saturday's contest 3-1 in a tight pitcher's duel. Sunday's win improved the team to 30-16 overall and 10-11 in Big 12 play. The win snapped a 5-game losing streak against Oklahoma State, and the team next plays this weekend in Waco against Oklahoma for the final regular season series. In track, Deshaun Jones won the Big 12 title in the 110-meter hurdle, while Alia Miller and Howard Fields III took conference victories in the 800 meters and 400 meters respectively. Akir Nugent also placed on the podium at the meet in 2 different events. And another title comes to Texas. The Sam Houston State Bearcats won their first national title in FCS football on Sunday in a thrilling 23-21 come-from-behind victory against South Dakota State in Frisco. I'm Jack McKenzie, in for Armstrong Sims, and that's all the news that is news in college sports. This has been Jack's Minute on SicEm365 Radio's Up Tempo.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
It's a name and a memory that called us back. It's a belief and a labor that will carry us forward. It's a time and experience that will make you return. The new Bear Ridge Golf Club, a space revitalized, a course restored, a new experience. For a tee time today, call the Pro Shop at 254-848-7800. Go to BearRidgeWaco.com, just south of Waco on Highway 84. Come join us at Bear Ridge Golf Club.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday Saturday after 2 or all day Saturday and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Welcome back to Up Tempo on SicEm365 Radio.
Paulie, give me some of your tots. No, go find your own. Come on, give me some of your tots. No, I'm freaking starved. I didn't get to eat anything today.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122.
Paulie, don't be jealous that I've been chatting online with Dave all day.
Your place for a Baylor take on your lunch break. Here's Drake Toll.
All right. Welcome back to the Betting Clinic Low T Bears Den remote from the metropolis that is Bologna, Arkansas today and all week the rest of this week. Got a big show planned for you tomorrow. Baylor tennis is currently in a dogfight with Ole Miss, trying to advance to the Elite Eight. I'm going to get better Wi-Fi. At some point, too. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you.
Celebrity birthdays. All right. Number 1, Bob Saget. How old is Bob Saget today?
They're up?
65.
70.
Oh, he is 65 years old.
Whoa.
Wow.
Bang, bang.
Off the dome, very first one. Taj Mowry, he's a child actor. You would know him if you saw him.
Child actor currently, 9.
No, he was a child actor. He's not anymore.
No, 35.
31.
He's 35.
What?
Holy crap. He's 35.
Let's go.
Wow. Jill Duggar. We haven't gotten many of the Duggars. There are so many of them. I'm surprised we haven't had a Duggar yet. Jill Duggar. First and foremost, a Duggar, I hardly know her. Jill Duggar.
28, I don't know.
I don't know who this is. 42.
30. She's one of the 19 kids, and I don't think they're counting anymore. I think it's her. Passenger, the singer. Passenger.
Dude.
50, I don't know, man.
32.
Okay.
50 and 32 are our guesses.
Oh, no, you gotta go. 37. Tony Parker. Tony Parker.
Oh, I know Tony. I know that's the first one I've known.
I'm gonna go with 40.
44.
39.
Whoa.
Tony Parker's 39. Yeah. Bill Paxton. Famous movie actor Bill Paxton. I love Bill Paxton, but he's dead, but I loved him. Would have been how old?
83.
91.
66 for
Whoa.
Bill Paxton.
Rest in
today.
peace, Bill.
Young.
Yeah, rip. Kind of a younger guy on the younger side. German football club TSV in Munchen is founded in what year?
TSV München?
Yeah, you should know this.
1861?
1860. Wow.
Oh, 1860.
It's 1860. Oh my gosh.
Michigan. Michael Jordan's autographed Air Nike 1 trainers in 1985 sell for $560,000 on auction.
2019.
Jack?
Not sure. I'm trying to play the outro and it's not working.
Nice. It was 2020 actually. That
oh wow, it just happened?
Later, guys. All right. I'm Drake Toll. That's Andrew Robertson, Jack McKenzie. I can't believe it's time to end the show, but it is time to end the show. It's been a pleasure to have you today from remote location. We'll come back. We'll do it all again tomorrow. See you at 11 o'clock, folks. Thanks for sticking it out with us. This has been Up Tempo.